Chapter 53. After looking at the information, Wang Meng secretly nodded his head. It seemed that he would need a few more days to evolve. He could consider entering the reservoir to take a look. However, the sky was about to brighten. Therefore, tonight was not a good time. Thus, Wang Meng decided to enter the reservoir tomorrow night. He could not delay any longer. Originally, he had said that he would enter the reservoir at 20 meters. Now, he was already at 24 meters. Moreover, his skills had also been greatly improved. His defense, self-healing, and attack had all been raised to the maximum. He could even breathe underwater. In truth, Wang Meng had nothing to be afraid of. Tomorrow night, after he finished eating his pigs, he could enter the reservoir. After making his plans, Wang Meng returned to his nest to rest. After slowly curling up into a ball, Wang Meng slowly closed his cold snake eyes. However, at this time, Wang Meng could faintly hear a miserable cry. He even thought that he had misheard. I must have misheard. Wang Meng was suspicious. He was not sure if he had misheard. Wang Meng did not think too much about it and fell asleep. The next day, during the day, Wang Meng had almost forgotten about the miserable cries during the night. When night came again, Wang Meng once again went to the small-scale farm and ate the 200 pigs that were delivered. After eating these 200 pigs, he had earned around 90,000 evolution points. This allowed Wang Meng to be one step closer to his next evolution. After eating the 200 pigs, Wang Meng did not immediately return to his nest. Instead, he headed towards the Huanshan Reservoir. That's right, Wang Meng wanted to enter the Huanshan Reservoir tonight to take a look. If he could dominate the Huanshan Reservoir, then he would have a very good hiding place. After all, his nest was on land. As his body grew bigger, it was no longer safe. There were even a few times where he was almost discovered. Thus, changing nests, or even two nests, would be safer. Additionally, the Huanshan Reservoir was clearly easier to hide in. There was no need to worry about the future. After all, his family's reservoir had an area of 200,000 square meters, and the depth of the water was several hundred meters deep. This kind of environment was enough for Wang Meng to hide in for a long time. In the past, he did not choose the Huanshan Reservoir as his nest because Wang Meng did not have the ability to breathe underwater. Moreover, there might be creatures that could threaten him in the Huanshan Reservoir. However, now that his body size had reached this stage, Wang Meng had the idea of moving his nest. Naturally, this was on the premise that Wang Meng could dominate the entire Huanshan Reservoir. If he couldn't become a hegemon, he wouldn't have chosen to stay in the Huanshan Great Reservoir because of the dangers. Of course, in Wang Meng's opinion, with his body size, there should not be many natural enemies. If there were creatures that could threaten him, then it meant that the water monsters in the Huanshan Reservoir were too big. Not long after, Wang Meng passed through the jungle and arrived at the Huanshan Reservoir's shore. At that moment, many of the animals on the shore scattered in panic after seeing Wang Meng's huge body. That was because Wang Meng's body size was really too big. He was 24 meters long, close to the thickness of 3 people hugging together. With such a body size, any creature on land would be afraid of Wang Meng. Then, under the respectful gazes of the animals on the shore of the reservoir, Wang Meng's enormous body slowly entered the reservoir, causing a series of ripples to appear on the surface of the water. After entering the reservoir, Wang Meng easily twisted his body and found that his speed was much faster than on land. Wang Meng guessed that his speed in the water was at least 5 times faster than on land. Moreover, as soon as he entered his reservoir, Wang Meng found out how rich the fish in the reservoir were. There were all kinds of freshwater fish swimming around in the water. Some of them were big curly beaks, carps, grass carps, and so on. Some of them were even half a meter long. Fish of this size could be said to be dozens of kilograms or hundreds of kilograms. Not only that, in Wang Meng's line of sight, there were even large black catfish that were several meters long. Wang Meng was simply stunned. His own reservoir was too exaggerated. There were even large black catfish that were 3 to 4 meters long. It could be said that before Wang Meng entered the deepest part of the reservoir, he had already seen the largest catfish that was 5 meters long. This made Wang Mang very puzzled. Where did so many huge fish come from in his reservoir? If it was a catfish, it was impossible to grow so big, right? This was the most puzzling thing in Wang Mang's heart. Wang Mang had seen meter-long catfish on TV before. They were indeed in the Amazon River. What made Wang Mang feel even more incredulous was that he actually saw the giant bone-tongue fish. Giant bone-tongue fish that were 5 to 6 meters long could be seen everywhere in his reservoir, and there were quite a lot of them. The giant bone-tongue fish was huge in size and distributed in the Amazon River basin of South America. How could there be such things in his reservoir? Who threw this thing into their own reservoir? But soon, Wang Mang saw an even bigger giant bone-tongue fish. He saw that in the distant waters, an 8-meter-long giant bone-tongue fish was swimming in the water fiercely. After the rest of the fish saw this huge giant bone-tongue fish, they all retreated and took the initiative to make way. Similarly, this huge giant bone-tongue fish came not far from Wang Mang and looked at Wang Mang curiously. This made Wang Mang a little confused. Did this fish give birth to wisdom? Could it be psychic? Thinking of this, Wang Mang was even more shocked. An 8-meter-long giant bone-tongue fish? What kind of concept was that? It was as long as the second floor. The giant bone-tongue fish could be said to be the top 3 behemoths in the size of freshwater fish now. The giant bone-tongue fish could usually grow up to 2 to 6 meters long, and its size could reach the extent of measuring tons. This was also the reason why Wang Mang was so shocked, because even in the Amazon River basin, it was difficult to find such a huge giant bone-tongue fish. But this kind of big guy that he had only seen on TV in the past, he actually saw it in his reservoir. Not only that, Wang Mang also saw all kinds of huge supergiant fish. Why did these fish grow so big? Where did these fish come from? Why could even a grass carp reach the size of 2 to 3 meters? Of course, Wang Mang did not have time to be shocked for too long. He saw an even more terrifying behemoth. This was a guy that was as black as ink. Its body was very huge, twice the size of the previous giant bone-tongue fish, but the length was about the same. This was a huge black catfish that was almost 10 meters long, especially its huge head, which made people shudder. There were 6 whiskers beside its big mouth. This made Wang Mang a little stunned. This was actually a 6-whiskered catfish. What was a 6-whiskered catfish? This 6-whiskered catfish was also called a giant catfish in Europe. Its body length could reach up to 5 meters, and it was also called a man-eating giant catfish. But this giant catfish was too big. It was almost 10 meters long. This huge body, even Wang Mang felt his scalp tingle when he saw it. At this moment, Wang Mang really realized that his reservoir was so terrifying. Chapter 54. He had been fishing for so long, but he hadn't noticed it before. To be honest, when he came to the underwater world of his reservoir, Wang Mang knew how terrifying the danger of his reservoir was. If he dared to enter his reservoir with a length of 10 meters, he was afraid that he wouldn't end up well, because in his reservoir, there were already behemoths with a body size of 10 meters. For a moment, Wang Mang didn't even know how big the largest creature in his reservoir was. The area of his reservoir didn't look too big, but there were too many underwater fish creatures, and they were all abnormally fierce. Whether it was the giant bony-tongued fish or the giant catfish, even an ordinary grass carp could reach a length of 3 meters. In short, any one of the big guys in this reservoir could drag him into the reservoir and drown him. After the shock, Wang Mang continued to swim. He didn't retreat at all in his reservoir. After seeing Wang Mang's size, even the giant black catfish that was almost 10 meters long tactfully made way for Wang Mang. Wang Mang was very satisfied with this. If this big catfish didn't know what was good for it, Wang Mang didn't mind eating it. To be honest, Wang Mang now wanted to see how many behemoths there were in his reservoir. If there were a lot of these 10-meter-long behemoths, then it could be used as food for Wang Mang to devour when there was no prey. When Wang Mang went deeper into the center of the reservoir, he found that the water here was getting colder and colder. In the blink of an eye, he had reached a depth of more than 100 meters. But when Wang Mang was about to go deeper, A huge behemoth with a thick body appeared in front of him in the distance, completely shocking him. This was a super giant python with a snow-white body. Its size was even bigger than Wang Mang. This is too big. This white snake is a super giant python. After seeing this super giant python, Wang Mang was completely shocked. This super giant python was really too big. It was almost 30 meters long. Moreover, the thickness of the snake's body was even thicker than Wang Mang's. A 30-meter-long super python? Was this really his own reservoir? Was there such a super python other than him? For a moment, Wang Mang felt his mind go blank. He didn't even know what to say. This super giant python posed a very strong threat to him. He felt even more threatened than the old cultivator, Li Qianxing, not long ago. Also, what kind of giant python was this? How could it be 30 meters long? To be honest, Wang Mang was really shocked. Only after entering his own reservoir did he realize how terrifying it was. First, it was the 10-meter-long giant catfish. What next? What did he see next? He saw a 30-meter-long super python. At the same time, Wang Mang immediately realized that something was wrong. This super giant python swam towards him ferociously. A pair of light bulb-like snake eyes were filled with coldness, twisting its huge body as if it didn't come with good intentions. Seeing this scene, Wang Mang immediately came back to his senses and immediately knew that things weren't good. Could it be that this area of water was its territory? Wang Mang wasn't very clear about this point, but this guy was coming towards him. Moreover, this guy's speed was very fast, and it was extremely flexible in the water. However, Wang Mang wasn't easy to bully. Although this super giant python was bigger than him, it was obviously not weak. However, Wang Mang wasn't easy to bully either. Among the same kind, this was the first time Wang Mang encountered such a huge monster that could give him such a strong sense of threat. Thinking of this, Wang Mang was also a little eager to give it a try. The difference in body length between the two wasn't too exaggerated. Therefore, Wang Mang naturally wasn't afraid of this white super giant python. However, this white super giant python was really too beautiful. In the water, its fine snake scales were even rippling with the light of the water, and it was particularly eye-catching. Compared to Wang Mang, it was simply two extremes. Wang Mang's body was as black as ink, and its huge snake head looked ferocious and terrifying. For a moment, the two quickly swam towards each other. But when Wang Mang was about to get close, he suddenly felt the water pressure become incomparably huge. Wang Mang's originally incomparably nimble body immediately became heavy and clumsy when he approached this super white giant python. In fact, Wang Mang felt as if his body was pressing down on a mountain, making it extremely heavy for him to move his body. Damn it, what the hell is going on? This immediately made Wang Mang a little bewildered. Everything was fine before. Why did he encounter such a strange phenomenon when he just got close to this super giant white python? Could it be a special skill? Without waiting for Wang Mang to think more, this super giant python nimbly approached Wang Mang. It opened its bloody mouth and bit towards Wang Mang's body, wanting to bite Wang Mang in half. At the crucial moment, Wang Mang immediately used his defensive skill, Steel Body. In that instant, Wang Mang's body that was originally pitch black like ink instantly turned into a thick and sturdy steel. This ferocious mouth also bit Wang Mang's body. Wang Mang suddenly felt a sharp pain coming from his body. When he looked back, he was stunned. Although his body had almost completely turned into steel, two bloody holes were still bitten through. If Wang Mang hadn't used Steel Body, that bite would have been enough to bite him in half. Fortunately, after using Steel Body, this kind of injury was only a small injury to Wang Mang. Moreover, after Wang Mang used super healing, the wound quickly healed. At the same time, Wang Mang was also angry. He tried to turn his snake head to react and pounce on this giant white python. However, Wang Mang was shocked to find that the strange phenomenon of his super heavy body not only did not disappear, but was still there. On the contrary, This super giant white python's body was incomparably agile, easily dodging his counterattack. This made Wang Mang a little sullen, but at the same time, it made him even more angry. His speed was too slow. He didn't know what method this super giant white python used to be able to make the gravity in the surrounding water become so terrifying. It even made Wang Mang move his body clumsily like a tortoise. His reaction was slow, and his movements were stiff and clumsy. At the same time, this super giant white python was sizing up Wang Mang, and its heart was filled with uncertainty. She originally thought that this guy was just an ordinary snake or a mutated snake, which was why he could grow so big. But looking at the situation in front of her, this guy was definitely not an ordinary supergiant python. It was very likely that he was also a giant python with psychic powers. Otherwise, how could this black giant python in front of her have the means to completely turn her into steel? It also had a terrifying self-healing ability. There was only one possibility, and that was that this Huanshan reservoir had attracted another ruthless character, a powerful and difficult guy to deal with. Thinking of this super giant white python immediately sent a mental wave to Wang Mang, warning him, "Leave here. This is my territory." At the same time, he heard a cold warning in his mind. Wang Mang was stunned, and his heart was incomparably shocked. This guy in front of him was definitely a psychic monster. Chapter 55. But isn't this communication method too magical? Thinking of this, Wang Mang quickly asked the system in his heart, "System, why don't I have this method?" The system's voice sounded. The host can gather his own spirit and transmit the words he wants to express to the other party. You can also communicate with spirit waves. After suddenly realizing, Wang Mang also quickly gathered his spirit in his heart and responded, "This is your territory? Where else? Do you have a master?" Hearing Wang Mang's words, the white super python responded coldly, "Hurry up and get lost. The south of this water area is my territory. If you don't leave, don't blame me for being impolite." Hearing the white super python's repeated warnings, Wang Mang was a little helpless and responded, "If you don't tell me, I won't leave." Wang Mang's expression immediately angered the white super python, and it instantly became fierce and pounced on Wang Mang. Not only that, Wang Mang immediately felt that the gravity in the water that was targeting him appeared again. This made Wang Mang's swimming body even stiffer and slower, and he was completely like a target. In just a few moments, Wang Mang had already been bitten by this super white python dozens of times in a sullen manner. Even though Wang Mang was being attacked, the defensive power of his steel body was truly too perverse. Coupled with Wang Mang's super self-healing, the injuries left by the white super python were not fatal to Wang Mang. It's just that this feeling of being attacked made Wang Mang very angry. He didn't have the strength to fight back at all, because Wang Mang knew that if they really fought, he wouldn't be afraid of this white super python at all. After fighting for so long, Wang Mang almost figured out the white super python's combat power. Its combat power might be not bad, but it was only not bad. What really gave Wang Mang a headache was the water pressure displayed by the white super python. Wang Mang didn't know what kind of skill this was, but when he used it, he felt like he was having a hard time moving in the water. It was precisely this skill that made Wang Mang unable to retaliate at all. He was constantly being beaten up, feeling incomparably sullen. Even so, Wang Mang couldn't do anything to the white super giant python with its ability. It wasn't that he couldn't beat the other party, but the other party's skill was too **head up. Wang Mang was already very agile in the water, because when the opponent used this skill on him, he couldn't move at all. In a battle like this, it could be said that the threat was too great. If it wasn't Wang Mang, anyone else would have been killed by this giant white python. This was because Wang Mang was almost omnipotent and did not have any fatal shortcomings. Otherwise, if any creature were to fight with this giant white python, they would end up in a miserable state. This was because the white super giant python's strength was very strong, and its bite force was also very terrifying. It was even stronger than Wang Mang. As for the rest, Wang Mang didn't know, but there was no need to doubt its strength. It definitely wasn't much weaker than him. After all, this super giant white python was a spiritual creature and could be said to be very rare. Fortunately, this super giant python didn't have the strength to threaten Wang Mang. Wang Mang's defense was abnormal, his self-healing was abnormal, and his poisonous fangs were abnormal. He was omnipotent in all aspects. No matter how the white super giant python attacked him, it couldn't cause any fatal damage to him. Over time, the white super giant python gave up on continuing to attack Wang Mang and stopped. What do you want to know? Hearing this, Wang Mang suppressed his anger and said angrily, "The situation in this reservoir. Other than you, is there anyone else with similar strength as you?" Yes, the north is the territory of the water dragon. The west is the territory of the two giant catfish. The east is the territory of the black snake, and the south is my territory. After hearing the white super giant python's words, Wang Mang was stunned. He felt that it was very inconceivable. If that was the case, there were at least 5 big guys in this reservoir, and 3 of them were giant pythons. There were also 2 giant catfish. To be able to be on the same level as the white supergiant python. How big were they? Could it be that the water monster that appeared for a brief moment last time was the giant catfish in the west? Thinking of this, Wang Mang fell into deep thought. It seemed that the situation in his reservoir was a bit delicate. Just the big guys that were spiritual, there were a total of 5 of them. Thinking of this, Wang Mang also had an idea. It seemed that he had to occupy this Huanshan reservoir. At least for now, he needed to occupy a part of it first. After occupying a part of the reservoir's territory, only then could Wang Mang slowly understand why there were so many spiritual creatures gathered in his reservoir. Or rather, what was it? Why did it create so many spiritual creatures? After all, if it was a snake-type giant python, it might be an outsider. But Wang Mang was sure that the giant catfish was definitely a fish creature that originally lived in the reservoir. After all, no matter how monstrous a fish monster was, it couldn't leave the water for a long time, unless it became a big monster. Therefore, it was most likely that the fish in the reservoir were originally the fish that had gained sentience. Without waiting for Wang Mang to think more, the white super giant python spoke again. "I've told you what I need to tell you. You can leave now." Obviously, if it wasn't for the fact that it couldn't kill Wang Mang, the white supergiant python would definitely not be so good-tempered to talk to Wang Mang. Didn't you see that before? It attacked without saying a word. But after the fight, it indeed found that Wang Mang was very strong, and it couldn't do anything to him. Because of this, it could only communicate with Wang Mang nicely to drive him away. After getting the information he wanted, under the eager gaze of the white super giant python. After pondering for a while, Wang Mang twisted his body and left. Seeing this scene, the white super giant python breathed a sigh of relief. This guy that gave it a headache finally left. As for who Wang Mang went to find trouble with, it didn't care at all, as long as it didn't come to find trouble with it. All in all, Wang Mang's trouble was left to the other guys to worry about. Actually, Wang Mang, on the other hand, wanted to kill this super python. What he was helpless about was that he was being suppressed too severely, because once he attacked, he could only passively take a beating. This white supergiant python was really not easy to take down. This was also the reason why Wang Mang chose to give up on killing the white supergiant python. This guy was really not easy to deal with. It belonged to the tough type, especially that F***king skill. It suppressed Wang Mang so much that he was very aggrieved in the battle. So, except for the white super giant python here, Wang Mang still had a few targets to choose to snatch territory. They were the west, the territory of the 2 giant catfish; the north, the territory of the water catfish; the east, the territory of the black giant python. Thinking of this, Wang Mang fell into deep thought. In the end, whose territory should he choose to snatch? However, Wang Mang soon had his own plan. Among these 3 parties, he would snatch from whoever was the weakest. After all, the weakest one was the easiest to bully. Chapter 56. If one only looked at the situation from the current situation, it could be said that the huge reservoir was basically occupied by the giant pythons. Of the 5 psychic creatures, 3 of them were giant pythons. The giant catfish only occupied one area. Analyzing the lineup of the Huanshan Reservoir, it should be that these 2 giant catfish were easier to bully. However, Wang Mang didn't think so. On the contrary, Wang Mang thought that these giant catfish were definitely not to be trifled with. If these 2 giant catfish were really the native fish of the reservoir that were psychic, then one could imagine how terrifying their size was. One had to know that the 10-meter-long giant catfish that Wang Mang had encountered earlier, although it was psychic, it was not a threat to Wang Mang. However, the 2 giant catfish that were able to occupy the reservoir around the mountain for so long definitely had extraordinary abilities. Thinking of this, Wang Mang pondered for a while and rushed to the east. There was no other reason. Wang Mang wanted to see what the black giant python in the east was capable of. If it wasn't very capable, Wang Mang naturally wouldn't be polite to occupy this position. If it was too strong, then he would change his target to bully. The water in the east was still deep and blue. The water here was also several hundred meters deep. Moreover, the fish in the water were also very rich and diverse. There were also endless big fish. There were grass carps that were a few meters long and giant bony-tongued fish that were 7 or 8 meters long. In comparison, the water in the territory of the white giant python in the south was not inferior at all. It could be said that Wang Mang had been wandering in his reservoir for so long. He had discovered that there were really a lot of big fish in his reservoir. Of course, there were also a lot of small fish and psychic creatures. However, some fish that were psychic did not have high intelligence. In other words, the harmonious psychic fish could not be compared to the overlord of a region like the white giant python. However, Wang Mang was sure that the guy who occupied the reservoir was definitely very intelligent, because from the tone of the super white giant python, the guy who occupied this area was on the same level as the white giant python. Thinking of this, Wang Mang began to swim towards the deep waters in the east. Soon, Wang Mang felt a sense of danger. Then, Wang Mang saw a water cave. Suddenly, a huge black creature came out of the hole and appeared in Wang Mang's field of vision. This was a giant python whose entire body was as black as ink. However, Tower's overall size was inferior to Wang Mang's. Wang Mang guessed that its length was about 22 meters, and its thickness was not as thick as Wang Mang's. It looked more slender, and its body proportions were very balanced. It was much more pleasing to the eye than Wang Mang. Of course, what was worth mentioning was that Wang Mang couldn't recognize what kind of python this black python was. It was just like the white python from before. Wang Mang couldn't tell what species it was. The white super python from before was snow white and flawless. It looked as beautiful as a snowflake. However, Wang Mang couldn't recognize this white super python. Was it a snake species known on Earth? Similarly, Wang Mang couldn't recognize what kind of python this black giant python was. At the same time, this black giant python swam towards Wang Mang. However, this super python didn't act rashly. Instead, it stopped 20 meters away from Wang Mang. "Leave here. This is my territory." As expected, Wang Mang once again heard an ice-cold warning. Hearing this, Wang Mang coldly provoked, "Get out if you don't want to die. This is my territory from now on." Wang Mang's words, without a doubt, had directly provoked this black python. When Wang Mang saw this huge black python, he immediately charged toward him furiously, his aura surging violently. "As long as you don't have the means of the white super python, do you think you can fight me?" Wang Mang sneered inwardly. He also moved his thick and solid body that was as black as ink and charged toward the black python. At the same time, Wang Mang also used his skill again. Steel body. Almost in an instant, Wang Mang's body completely turned into a pitch-black steel body. In the next moment, Wang Mang and this super python collided. In the next moment, Wang Mang opened his bloody mouth and bit down on this black giant python. At the same time, this black giant python also bit Wang Mang's body. The two instantly tore each other. At the same time, their huge bodies were entangled with each other. At the same time, both of them were exerting force. But after Wang Mang's bloody mouth bit down on this black giant python's body, there was finally a feeling of biting on a stone. The entrance was very stiff. It could even be said that Wang Mang actually didn't bite it. At the same time, Wang Mang also felt pain in his body. Obviously, this black giant python also fiercely bit Wang Mang's body. However, its bite force was obviously weaker than that of the super white super python. However, this black giant python's defense was also very strong. Although it couldn't be compared to Wang Mang, it was definitely stronger than Wang Mang's defense before he obtained the steel body. This black giant python could actually turn its body into stone. This kind of defense could be said to be very strong. However, compared to Wang Mang, it was a lot worse. If Wang Mang didn't evolve to strengthen his defense, he probably wouldn't be as strong as this black giant python. However, Wang Mang had a lot of means, not just defense. At the same time, Wang Mang also knew that this black giant python's defense was probably one of its strong abilities. Thinking of this, Wang Mang once again attacked this black giant python, his bloody mouth constantly biting its body. Then, something that made Wang Mang stunned happened. Wang Mang saw that this guy's wound was actually healing. It had a freaking self-healing ability. However, what Wang Mang didn't know was that not only was he shocked, but the black giant python was even more stunned, because it thought that its defense was very strong. However, when it bit Wang Mang, it actually didn't bite Wang Mang's body. It was as if it had bitten on steel. It actually didn't bite Wang Mang's body. Moreover, Wang Mang's super self-healing ability made this black giant python completely stunned. It felt that the Wang Mang in front of it was its strengthened version. Not only were his skills similar to its, but they were also much stronger, whether it was defense, self-healing ability, size, or strength. These skills, conditions, and so on were all much stronger than his. It wasn't an exaggeration to say that he was its strengthened version. Because of this, the black giant python was a little flustered, because it realized that it couldn't beat Wang Mang at all. Similarly, Wang Mang also realized this point. This guy was inferior to him in all aspects. Other than being able to match him in speed, he was weaker than him in all other aspects. Therefore, Wang Mang gave up on using his poisonous fangs and immediately ended the battle, because Wang Mang already had the idea of subduing this black giant python. There was no other reason, but his current understanding of the reservoir was simply that he didn't know anything. If he subdued this guy, he could quickly grasp a lot of information about the reservoir. Moreover, it could also help him dominate the Huanshan Reservoir faster. Chapter 57. If he could subdue this guy, Wang Mang was willing to try subduing this black python. After all, this was an ordinary pet. If he could subdue it, it would definitely help him a lot. This was also the reason why Wang Mang wanted to subdue this black python. Of course, the premise was that he could subdue this black python. Therefore, Wang Mang didn't use his poisonous fangs. He used the most primitive method, using his almost omnipotent body to bite the black python. Not only that, Wang Mang always had the upper hand. When the black python fought with him, it was completely suppressed to the point that it didn't have much strength to resist. This was because Wang Mang's strength was too strong, so strong that it almost didn't have the strength to resist. It was very sullen to be suppressed by Wang Mang, because this black python was too similar to Wang Mang. It was like a weakened version of Wang Mang. Many of its skills and abilities were similar to Wang Mang, but they were also weaker than Wang Mang. Therefore, in such a primitive battle, this black python was almost riddled with wounds from Wang Mang's bites. Not only that, this black python's bites didn't leave many wounds on Wang Mang's body. This was because Wang Mang's super self-healing was too abnormal. It was so abnormal that the speed of healing was too terrifying. Moreover, Wang Meng's defense was also super abnormal. His entire body was almost made of steel. This black python could break through Wang Meng's defense. However, the damage it could cause to Wang Meng was definitely not too great. It could barely match Wang Meng's super self-healing speed. Therefore, the longer the battle, the more miserable this black python was. The main reason was that Wang Meng suppressed it too much. Moreover, it was an all-around suppression, strength suppression, defense suppression, self-healing suppression, volume suppression. Therefore, the longer the battle, the black python also knew how big the gap was between it and Wang Meng. The black python even had the intention of retreating. This was because Wang Meng's strength was too strong. He felt that other than the two giant catfish that could threaten Wang Meng, even the super white python couldn't threaten Wang Meng. This was because, although the super white python skills were also very powerful, but the super white python couldn't kill him. But what kind of monster was Wang Meng? He was stronger than him in every aspect. Moreover, he was stronger than him in every aspect. Therefore, the battle only lasted for half an hour. This black python struggled with all its might and separated from Wang Meng. He looked at Wang Meng with some fear. Seeing that Wang Meng was about to charge at him again, he hurriedly responded, "I'll give you my territory." After saying that, he moved his body and prepared to leave. Clearly, this black python really didn't want to continue fighting with Wang Meng. He was afraid that Wang Meng would kill him, because Wang Meng really had the strength to kill him. Otherwise, he wouldn't have chosen to give up his territory so easily. Seeing that the black python was about to leave, Wang Meng quickly chased after it, and then responded, "Submit to me. If we work together, who else in this reservoir can be our opponent?" If it was somewhere else, this black python would definitely sneer when he heard Wang Meng's words. But after seeing Wang Meng's strength, this black python was a little hesitant. After all, it wasn't impossible to occupy together. For example, the two terrifying giant catfish in the west. Both of them were very strong, not weaker than any other party. Still, no one could shake them in the reservoir's territory. Seeing that this black python was deep in thought, Wang Meng didn't rush to make a move. Of course, if this fellow didn't know how to appreciate his kindness, Wang Meng wouldn't be polite either. To be honest, Wang Meng hadn't eaten his own kind before. Moreover, it was such a big and strong psychic python. Moreover, Wang Meng guessed that if he devoured this fellow, the evolution points he would get wouldn't be less than Li Tianqing. Fortunately, at this time, the black python replied, "If I submit to you, what do I need to do? Do I have a share of the geocentric essence?" Geocentric essence? After hearing this, Wang Meng was stunned, then quickly asked, "What is geocentric essence?" Facing Wang Meng's question, the black python told him the truth. It turned out that the geocentric essence was a natural treasure produced by the Huanshan Reservoir. Every 30 years, the geocentric essence would appear. He had eaten this black python once 30 years ago. Moreover, it was snatched from the giant catfish's mouth. This was because every 30 years, the geocentric essence would appear in the western waters of the Huanshan Reservoir. This was also the reason why the giant catfish dominated the western waters. Moreover, there was less than half a year before the geocentric essence appeared. After listening to the black python's explanation, Wang Meng suddenly understood. In other words, the giant pythons in the Huanshan Reservoir, including this black python, didn't belong here. It was only after tasting the benefits 30 years ago that they moved their territory to the Huanshan Reservoir. This was the gist of the matter. Wang Meng finally understood why there were so many big fish in the Huanshan Reservoir. So it was all because of the geocentric essence. In order to win over this black python, Wang Meng naturally said generously, "As long as you submit to me, of course, you'll have a share of the geocentric essence." Hearing Wang Meng's words, the black python finally agreed. "Dark Light, I will definitely follow the king's orders in the future." "King? Is this the name of a monster?" Thinking of this, Wang Meng asked with interest, "Dark Light, you should be very clear about the forces in the reservoir now, right?" Dark Light quickly nodded and said, "King, I know. There is a super white python in the south. She's called White Water Lord. She has a magical skill. When she uses it, even the two giant catfish monsters can't do anything to her. 30 years ago, she snatched a lot of geocentric essence. Originally, she was about the same size as me. It was because she snatched a lot of geocentric essence 30 years ago that she became more powerful. Speaking of this, Dark Light felt very sullen and helpless. At that time, he also went to snatch the geocentric essence, but he snatched the least. Of course, the ones who snatched the most were the giant catfish in the west, followed by White Water Lord, and then the forest boa in the north. It could be said that he snatched the least amount of geocentric essence among the four sides. If it wasn't for his tyrannical strength, he would have been eliminated. It was precisely because he was the weakest among the four sides that he agreed to submit to Wang Mang. Otherwise, he was afraid that he wouldn't be able to snatch much geocentric essence in half a year's time. Instead, it would be eaten by the other three sides. After all, if there was a chance, the other three sides would find a way to get rid of him, just like how he wanted to get rid of the other competitors. But now that he submitted to Wang Mang, it was different. It could be said that the strong had joined forces. Moreover, Wang Mang also promised to give him some geocentric essence. Then, he would just be a subordinate. After all, there weren't many places like this in Feng Shui. He also didn't want to be chased out of the Huanshan Reservoir. Since ancient times, any place with heaven and earth treasures could be said to be guarded and occupied by monsters. Otherwise, the Huanshan Reservoir wouldn't be able to accommodate so many psychic monsters. The Huanshan Reservoir was able to gather so many powerful psychic monsters because of the geocentric essence. After listening to Dark Light's explanation, Wang Mang roughly understood the strength of the Huanshan Reservoir. The strongest ones were the two giant catfish in the west. These two giant catfish had swallowed a lot of geocentric essence. Moreover, these two giant catfish were the original inhabitants of the Huanshan Reservoir. Thinking of this, Wang Mang was a little curious. How old were these two giant catfish? Dark Light, how long have these two giant catfish lived? Out of curiosity, Wang Mang asked. Dark Light shook his head and explained, "My king, I'm not sure. These two giant catfish have lived for at least 800 years. My king, you don't know how scary these two giant catfish are. Not only do they have powerful divine powers, their bodies are also more than 30 meters long. In front of them, I'm like a big pot and a chopstick." Dark Light's voice was trembling when he said this. Obviously, the two giant catfish that occupied the west side of the reservoir were too powerful. Even though Wang Mang was mentally prepared, he couldn't help but gasp when he heard the general information about these two giant catfish. Chapter 58. How terrifying was a 30-meter-long giant catfish? To be honest, Wang Mang had no idea. Even in the ocean, a catfish of this size would be an overlord. After all, how big was the blue whale? The largest known blue whale on Earth was 33 meters long and weighed 181 tons. In other words, the size of these two catfishes was comparable to the largest blue whale. But it was such a huge creature, living in a 200,000 square meter reservoir. Thinking up to this point, Wang Mang started to panic. No wonder Dark Light's voice was trembling when he spoke. These two gigantic creatures were too terrifying. Even Wang Mang felt his scalp go numb just thinking about it. Wang Mang was 24 meters long and weighed only close to 2 tons. But if these two giant catfishes were really comparable to the blue whale, then their weight would definitely be at least 100 tons. These two creatures were the real overlords of the Huanshan Reservoir. Wang Mang felt bitter at the thought of this. To be honest, Wang Mang was not sure if he could poison such a huge creature, even with his peerless poisonous fangs. Thinking of this, Wang Mang nodded with a heavy heart. I understand. From now on, guard the eastern waters well. When it's time to fight for the geocentric essence, I'll appear and bring you along. Hearing Wang Mang's heavy tone, Dark Light heaved a sigh of relief. This proved that his king really cared about these two giant catfishes. When Dark Light first came to the reservoir, He was also shocked when he saw these two terrifying giant catfishes. Because these two giant catfishes were too terrifying. Even the Red Empire, they could be ranked in the top 100. The top 100 here didn't only include water monsters, but also plants monsters and so on. In other words, these two giant catfishes could be ranked in the top 100 among all the monsters in the Red Empire. If not for the allure of the geocentric essence, no monster would be foolish enough to fight for it with these two terrifying monsters. At this point, Wang Meng's thoughts of ruling his reservoir had completely disappeared. It was not that he did not want to rule. It was just that the creatures in the reservoir were too terrifying. Forget it. It was good enough that he could occupy the eastern waters. King, be careful. Within 100 miles, there's a terrifyingly powerful tree demon deep in the forest. At this time, Dark Light suddenly thought of something and reminded him. However, this was obviously not something that he suddenly thought of. On the contrary, if Wang Meng was not easy to get along with, he would not have said it. However, Wang Meng was much easier to get along with than he had imagined. Wang Meng had also agreed to share the Earth's core essence with him. That was why he told this news to Wang Meng. If Wang Meng didn't care about him at all, Dark Light wouldn't have told him about this either. This was because when he came to Huanshan Reservoir a few decades ago, he passed by the Tree Demon's territory. In the end, he almost died in the hands of the terrifying Tree Demon. If he did not run fast enough, he would have died. Hearing this, Wang Meng was shocked. He was getting more and more interested in the unknown things in this world. First, there were the extremely rare cultivators. Then, there was the existence of the beast god space. Then, there were the rumors of ghosts and monsters. Now, the existence of monsters had been confirmed. This world was really big. There were too many unknown existences in the dark. It was just that no one had exposed them. Thinking of this, Wang Meng nodded and made a mental note of it. It turned out that there was a tree demon in the forest within a radius of 100 miles. If Dark Light did not tell him, he would not have known about it. He had to admit that Dark Light was quite sensible. He had the awareness of being a follower. Wang Meng nodded in satisfaction and was about to leave the reservoir and return to the nest. However, Wang Meng did not realize that the sky was already bright. This meant that Wang Meng could not go back today. He could only wait for the sky to turn dark. However, this was also good. This way, Wang Meng could see the prosperity of his reservoir during the day. To be honest, Wang Meng had not been out of the nest during the day for a long time. Now that he was hiding in the reservoir, he was not worried about being discovered. Not only that, the water in the east was the area with the most fishermen. Therefore, Wang Meng could move freely in the Huanshan Reservoir. Thinking of this, Wang Meng ordered Dark Light a few more times. Then, he moved his body and wandered freely in the water. Needless to say, there were a lot of people in his reservoir. Many people had already arrived so early. Wang Meng stealthily revealed a pair of ice-cold snake eyes, clearly seeing the situation on the shore from the surface of the water. After a quick glance, Wang Meng realized that there were a lot of people on the shore. There seemed to be more than 100 people. This made Wang Meng feel very helpless. How early is it? At most, there are already so many people at around 9 o'clock in the morning. Could it be that these fellows had set off at dawn? It seemed that the popularity of his reservoir was more exaggerated than he had imagined. It had been 4 or 5 days. Not only did the popularity not decrease, but it was also increasing. Wang Meng shook his head and was about to dive back into the water when he suddenly saw something happening on the shore. He saw that among the fishermen on the shore, a middle-aged man's fishing rod was suddenly bent. Then, the fishing middle-aged man was pulled into the reservoir. However, the middle-aged man did not let go. Instead, he shouted excitedly, "Everyone, come and help me. I caught a big guy. Aha! This big fish is at least 300 pounds. When he saw this scene, Wang Meng instantly knew that things were bad. If the fisherman did not let go, he would definitely be pulled into the depths of the reservoir. At that time, this guy would probably end up like Wang Meng. He would be pulled into the depths of the reservoir and drown. Thinking of this, Wang Meng was speechless. This guy's personality would not be as stubborn as he was, right? In fact, What happened next proved that Wang Mang's guess was right. The middle-aged man was quickly pulled into the depths of the reservoir, but he still did not let go. A few people jumped into the water to help pull the fishing rod. However, the strength of these people was still not enough to pull the big fish in the reservoir. Then, the middle-aged man was still slowly pulled into the depths of the reservoir. Seeing this, Wang Mang's heart sank. He did not want his reservoir to kill someone again. Otherwise, Wang Mang's family would really get into a lot of trouble. Although he had such thoughts, Wang Mang could not show himself. He could only hope that the middle-aged man would let go as soon as possible. That was because Wang Mang was able to guess that the fish this fellow had caught was over 3 meters in length with just a simple analysis. Otherwise, it would definitely not have such a huge strength to pull a living person into the water. He did not know how thick the fishing line was and how big the hook was. Could it be that he used a hook that was specially made to catch huge fish like him? Chapter 59. Fortunately, under the watchful eyes of Wang Mang, this guy finally let go. Obviously, he wasn't a young man and didn't have that much energy. Therefore, this middle-aged fisherman had no choice but to let go. Then, the middle-aged fisherman watched helplessly as his expensive fishing rod was pulled into the depths of the reservoir. Fortunately, this middle-aged man was a good swimmer. In the end, he swam back to the shore with a face full of regret. Seeing this, Wang Mang heaved a sigh of relief. He knew in his heart that if this continued, then, sooner or later, the people fishing in his reservoir would definitely get into trouble. That was because there were too many behemoths in his reservoir. It could even be said that there were too many to count. Just by swimming in the water, Wang Mang could often see big fish swimming past him. However, what made Wang Mang speechless was just which big fish was so stupid. Logically speaking, as long as a fish was psychic, it would have a certain level of intelligence. It definitely wouldn't be so stupid as to bite the hook. Unless they were extremely hungry, these psychic fish wouldn't bite the hook so easily. Moreover, there was an abundance of fish in the reservoir. Most of the big fish would choose to eat small fish and wouldn't bite the hook so stupidly. Therefore, Wang Mang couldn't understand why these psychic fish would bite the hook. Could it be that they hated humans? These psychic fish definitely wouldn't bite the hook to eat because they were hungry. Otherwise, they wouldn't even be able to reach the psychic level. However, Wang Mang didn't think too much about it and quietly dived back into the water. During the day, Wang Mang was active in the reservoir and didn't feel uncomfortable at all. He felt as if he was living on land. This was something that even dark light couldn't do. This was because dark light couldn't live in the water for the whole day. He needed a certain amount of time to come out of the water to breathe. It had to be said that this was one of Wang Mang's advantages. However, Wang Mang didn't tell dark light this news. After all, one must always be vigilant against others. Under any circumstances, it was best not to expose all of one's abilities. Wang Mang was very clear about this. Therefore, in front of dark light, Wang Mang's strength was only abnormal in terms of defense, self-healing ability, strength, and other aspects. However, Wang Mang didn't reveal any of his attacking methods, nor did he reveal his peerless poisonous fangs or his ability to breathe underwater. Time passed quickly, and in the blink of an eye, it was already nighttime. Wang Mang, who had been soaking in the water for a day, took advantage of the night and floated to the surface. His huge body swam briskly on the surface of the water. As his body swayed, he rapidly approached the shore. Fortunately, no one saw this scene. Otherwise, they would probably be scared to death. After arriving at the shore, Wang Mang moved his body and went to the small farm. Today, the small farm was still pitch black, and one could vaguely hear the cries of pigs. This meant that his father had sent over another 200 pigs. Thinking about this, Wang Mang's mood became even better. After arriving at the pig pen, Wang Mang once again shuttled back and forth in the pig pen and began to kill and devour. Following the system's notification and the pigs' miserable cries, it finally quieted down after 2 hours. This time, Wang Mang had obtained 90,000 evolution points. Additionally, Wang Mang guessed that he was very close to evolving again. Thinking about this, Wang Mang happily muttered, "System, check my personal information." In the next moment, his personal information appeared in front of his eyes. Host, Wang Mang type. Mutated Titan Python status. Adult status. Healthy body. 24 meters long, 2,600 kilograms in weight fighting strength. 4,000 kilograms in bite force. 85 kilometers per hour skills. Death coil. Peerless poisonous fangs. Skin camouflage. Steel body. Super self-healing. Underwater breathing special. Storage space evolution points. 376000/480000. After looking at his personal information, Wang Mang inwardly nodded his head. Sure enough, he was still short of 100,000 evolution points to evolve. He estimated that he would be able to evolve again tomorrow night. In the worst case, he would just hunt a few more animals in the reservoir to make up the numbers. Thinking about this, Wang Mang's mood became better. Taking advantage of the darkness of the night, before the sun rose, Wang Mang once again entered the reservoir. Not long after entering the reservoir, Wang Mang set his eyes on a huge giant bone-tongue fish. He wanted to see how many evolution points this big guy could give him. Although, when the 200 pigs arrived tomorrow, he would be able to evolve quickly enough. Since he had time tonight, he might as well gather a few tens of thousands of evolution points first. Thinking about this, Wang Mang began to swim towards the 9-meter-long giant bone-tongue fish. When Wang Mang was about to get close, the giant bone-tongue fish tactfully avoided him. In response, Wang Mang immediately chased after it fiercely. His speed was so fast that even the giant bone-tongue fish could not react in time. The distance of 7 to 8 meters was almost instantaneous. Wang Mang rushed forward and bit the giant bone-tongue fish's body fiercely. This immediately frightened the 9-meter-long giant bone-tongue fish and made it struggle frantically. However, although its body was huge, how could it fight against Wang Mang? Thus, Wang Mang's huge body easily wrapped around it and even poured in the venom from his poisonous fangs. The giant bone-tongue fish that was originally struggling frantically became weaker and weaker under Wang Mang's entanglement. Not long after, it completely lost the strength to move and died under Wang Mang's poisonous fangs. At the same time, Wang Mang also began to eat the giant bone-tongue fish. The giant bone-tongue fish's body was too big, with a body that was 9 meters long. How could Wang Mang swallow it? Thus, it took him more than 10 minutes to swallow the giant bone-tongue fish. During this process, some fishes also saw it, but they did not dare to come forward to snatch the food. On the contrary, some small fishes did not care and ate the small pieces of meat that Wang Mang left out. After Wang Mang swallowed the huge monster, the system's familiar voice sounded again, frowny-facing. Congratulations to the host for devouring the psychic giant bone-tongue fish. You have gained 20,000 evolution points. After hearing the system's voice, Wang Mang was simply stunned. This guy was actually worth 20,000 evolution points? However, after thinking about the giant bone-tongue fish's huge body, Wang Mang was relieved. This guy's body size and weight were probably heavier than Wang Mang. Therefore, there was a reason why this guy could provide so many evolution points. Thinking of this, Wang Mang's heart gradually became excited. This 9-meter-long giant bone-tongue fish provided him with 20,000 evolution points. Didn't that mean that if he ate another 4 or 5, he would be able to evolve again tonight? Thinking of this, Wang Mang was simply excited and let go of his killing nature. He wanted to see how many evolution points he could obtain by letting go of his temper and killing crazily for an entire night. At this point, Wang Mang began to move his huge body and crazily hunt in the reservoir. Chapter 60. Ding! Congratulations, host. You have successfully devoured a 5-meter-long psychic catfish. Obtained 8,000 evolution points. Ding! Congratulations, host. You have successfully devoured a 6-meter-long psychic bone-tongue fish. Obtained 10,000 evolution points. Ding! Congratulations, host. You have successfully devoured an 11-meter-long psychic catfish. Obtained 30,000 evolution points. Ding. Congratulations, host. You have successfully devoured a 5-meter-long rare psychic carp. Obtained 60,000 evolution points. Ding. Congratulations, host. You have successfully devoured a 13-meter-long psychic catfish. Obtained 50,000 evolution points. At this moment, in the eastern waters, the surface of the water was slightly rippling. From time to time, one could see blood flowing out from the bottom of the water. This was because there was a huge creature in the water. It was a pitch-black python that was crazily chasing and killing the psychic big fishes in the water. Not only that, many of the psychic big fishes were crazily fleeing, but they were still easily killed by Wang Mang. Additionally, there were also psychic big fishes that were begging Wang Mang for mercy. However, Wang Mang did not let any of the big fishes go. Basically, all the big fishes that could enter his stomach were all killed by Wang Mang. Other than the psychic big fishes that were under 5 meters, only the psychic big fishes could escape from Wang Mang's eyes. He was not interested in such a big fish that was less than 5 meters long. However, the big fishes that were over 5 meters had all entered Wang Mang's stomach. This also caused Wang Mang's evolution points to crazily increase. Not only that, Wang Mang had already obtained enough evolution points. However, Wang Mang was still hunting the psychic big fishes in the water. The more he ate, the more excited he became. However, Wang Mang's extreme joy quickly turned into sorrow. Following his crazy night of killing, the eastern waters were filled with the smell of blood. This caused many psychic big fishes to run to the southern waters, western waters, and northern waters. There was nothing they could do about it. These psychic fish were not stupid. They knew that such a ferocious fellow had appeared in the eastern waters. If they could not win, could they not run? If he couldn't afford to offend them, couldn't he just avoid them? Therefore, many psychic fish ran to the other 3 waters. It was almost dawn. Wang Mang was already in the eastern waters. He could no longer find any psychic fish. Of course, there were still many spiritual fish below 5 meters. This was because Wang Mang didn't hunt spiritual fish that were less than 5 meters long. As a result, many of the big fishes in the eastern waters suddenly disappeared, and many of the small fishes swarmed over. This was because Wang Mang had left behind too much minced meat and the smell of blood when he devoured them. This naturally attracted a lot of smaller spiritual fish. One after another, they came uninvited. Therefore, after Wang Mang ate some of the big fish, most of them ran away, but there were a lot more small fish. However, Wang Mang didn't care too much about it. Other than the western waters, Wang Mang wouldn't go there for the time being. However, no matter if it was the southern waters or the northern waters, Wang Mang would run to hunt psychic big fishes. This was because in the entire reservoir, Wang Mang couldn't think of anything that could defeat him other than the 2-headed giant catfish in the west. This was also one of the reasons why Wang Mang was so unscrupulous. As long as he didn't provoke the 2 giant catfish in the west, there seemed to be no creature in his reservoir that could threaten him. Therefore, after discovering that there were no big fishes in the eastern waters, Wang Mang directly swam to the northern waters. When Wang Mang came to the northern waters, he once again started a crazy slaughter and devouring. Large batches of big fishes all entered Wang Mang's stomach. However, Wang Mang didn't devour for long before he provoked the owner of the northern waters. He saw that in the distant waters, a huge green creature was swimming towards him. Seeing this scene, Wang Mang was surprised. This giant python's body was 24 meters long. The thickness of its body was about the same as Wang Mang and O Xiang. It also had a big head and an abnormally thick snake body. At the same time, a pair of light bulb-sized, deep green snake eyes coldly stared at Wang Mang as it swam towards him at an extremely fast speed. Seeing this scene, Wang Mang couldn't help but laugh in his heart. He also wanted to see what this anaconda was capable of. If it didn't have the ability, Wang Mang didn't mind devouring it and occupying its territory. This way, Wang Mang would have half of the territory in his reservoir. Of course, the most important thing was that Wang Mang wanted to devour this fellow and see how many evolution points he could obtain. Actually, Wang Mang didn't want to fight with this fellow for the time being. He only wanted to devour some psychic big fishes. However, now that he had encountered it, he naturally couldn't back down. Moreover, Wang Mang really didn't put this fellow in his eyes. Thus, when he saw this fellow swimming towards him, Wang Mang also moved his body and swam towards the anaconda without showing any signs of weakness. In an instant, the 100-meter distance between the two sides was instantly shortened. Roar! The forest boa suddenly opened its bloody mouth and bit at Wang Mang without saying a word. Towards this fellow that invaded its territory, even though it felt threatened by Wang Mang, it still used its most ferocious attack. Seeing this, Wang Mang sneered in his heart. He also activated his own ability, and his body unknowingly turned into a body of steel. At the same time, Wang Mang also opened his bloody mouth. In his bloody mouth full of fangs, a pair of sharp dagger-like poisonous fangs were particularly eye-catching. In the next moment, the anaconda's bloody mouth instantly bit Wang Mang's neck. At the same time, Wang Mang's bloody mouth bit its neck. Then, both of their bodies couldn't help but intertwine with each other, almost turning into a fried dough twist in an instant. This was a competition of strength. The anaconda thought that its strength was unparalleled. Therefore, it unscrupulously intertwined with Wang Mang. At the same time, Wang Mang also thought that his strength was invincible among those of the same level. Both of them didn't want to give in to each other. Under the situation of being the same size, naturally, they intertwined together like fried dough twists. But in the next moment, Wang Mang was surprised to find that the anaconda's strength wasn't weak at all. It was actually comparable to him. Just based on strength alone, it was a whole street ahead of Dark Light. One had to know that the difference between Dark Light's strength and Wang Mang's was huge. For this anaconda to be stronger than Dark Light, it seemed that it had some ability. But when Wang Mang bit the anaconda's body, he was even more surprised to find that this fellow's defense wasn't weaker than Dark Light's. However, it was only about the same as Dark Light's. But compared to Wang Mang, it was still a long way off. Therefore, after finding out that this fellow didn't have any special skills, Wang Mang began to bite crazily. At the same time, Wang Mang didn't care about this fellow biting his body at all. Because of his terrifying super self-healing ability, it could completely keep up with the damage that the anaconda caused him. But after biting for a while, Wang Mang found that something was wrong. The more serious the injury this fellow suffered, the stronger its strength was. Not only that, Wang Mang also found out that this fellow didn't feel pain. After careful observation, he found that the anaconda's eyes were completely different from before. The pair of snake eyes were scarlet like blood, allowing Wang Mang to bite him into a bloody mess. It didn't seem to be affected at all. On the contrary, its strength was getting stronger and stronger. Not only was its combat power not affected, it was getting more and more terrifying. Perhaps this was the reason why this anaconda was able to suppress Dark Light. Thinking of this, Wang Mang found that this fellow's strength was very ordinary. There wasn't anything outstanding about it. Of course, this anaconda's strength was indeed stronger than Dark Light, but there was a limit to it. It seemed that there were very few psychic monsters that had heaven-defying skills. With this thought, Wang Mang decided to end the battle as soon as possible. He opened his bloody mouth and bit the anaconda's neck. At the same time, his fangs began to inject a large amount of venom. Chapter 61. After Wang Mang injected a large amount of venom, the anaconda still did not have much of a reaction. However, the fiercer Wang Mang's bite, the more ferocious and violent the anaconda was. Whether it was strength, or defensive power, or combat power, the anaconda was crazily climbing up. Obviously, the anaconda's trump card was this skill. But after injecting the venom, Wang Mang let go of the anaconda. He took the initiative to get rid of the entanglement with the anaconda. This made the anaconda very puzzled. It did not understand why Wang Mang took the initiative to give up the attack. Could it be that the opponent was afraid? Thinking of this, the anaconda became even more ferocious. Its snake eyes were scarlet like blood, and it crazily pounced. Seeing this scene, Wang Mang sneered in his heart, but he did not choose to continue fighting with this guy, because this guy had already been poisoned by a large amount of his venom, and it would not be able to hold on for long. Therefore, in the face of the anaconda's ferocious attack, Wang Mang directly chose to swim with it for a while. This angered the anaconda, and it directly expressed its anger to Wang Mang. "If you don't want to fight, get out of my territory immediately." Hearing this, Wang Mang sneered in his heart, but did not respond to the anaconda's words. After a while, the anaconda also found that its condition was not right. It felt that its brain was extremely dizzy, and it also felt a sense of powerlessness coming from its body. "Damn it! What the hell is going on? What the hell did you do to me?" This made the anaconda a little shocked and angry. Its scarlet snake eyes stared at Wang Mang. Hearing this, Wang Mang did not respond. Instead, he pulled away and coldly stared at the anaconda. After another 2 minutes, Wang Mang saw the anaconda go crazy in pain. Its body crazily swayed in the water, and at the same time, it began to hit everywhere. It even jumped out of the water in madness. Then, Huanshan Reservoir. The people fishing on the shore saw a scene that they would never forget. They saw that the originally calm lake suddenly burst into waves. This immediately attracted the attention of all the fishermen. The next moment, they saw a terrifying giant python struggling madly in the water. Seeing this scene, many people sucked in a breath of cold air. Terrified voices rang out one after another. "Oh my God, are there giant pythons in the reservoir too? This giant python doesn't seem to be the black python from last time. Oh my God, how many pythons are there in this reservoir?" At the same time, Wang Mang, who had been silently following Sun Boa, was also waiting for venom to completely take effect. Wang Mang didn't care at all when he saw the forest boa's poison acting up and looking like it had gone mad. However, when he saw the forest boa crazily swimming towards the shore, Wang Mang's expression changed greatly. Obviously, this forest boa also knew that its situation was not good and wanted to escape from the reservoir, because there was still Wang Mang, who was eyeing them covetously from the side. Therefore, it swam towards the shore in a frenzy, creating waves on the surface of the water. However, this forest boa had obviously underestimated Wang Mang's venom. When the forest boa was about to reach the shore, it was already delirious and its speed was getting slower and slower. Seeing this scene, Wang Mang knew that this guy had completely lost its ability to fight. Therefore, Wang Mang jumped out of the water, opened its bloody mouth, and bit the forest boa's huge head, dragging it towards the depths of the water. This scene was also seen by many fishermen on the shore. They all stared with their eyes wide open as if they had seen a ghost. Because wasn't the giant python that attacked the forest boa just now the black python that had gone viral on the internet? For a moment, countless fishermen on the shore looked at this scene with incomparable shock. Even though this giant forest boa giant python had been dragged into the water and disappeared from the surface of the water. However, they were still so scared that they hadn't recovered from their shock. It was too terrifying. This black python was too ferocious. Now, even a giant python of the same size had been killed by him? Oh my God, I've been fishing in the reservoir for so many days, and there's actually such a big python, and there's more than one? F*CKU, such a big python, and we didn't know about it at all. We were still fishing here? F*CK. Is this the legendary snake swallowing another snake? Even the green super giant python can't beat the black giant python? Aren't you talking nonsense? The black super python is still alive, which proves that the 5 Manchurian tigers and the lion all died under its mouth. At this moment, the fishermen on the shore caused an uproar. Countless fishermen were discussing in horror. In fact, many people who came to fish had already packed their things and prepared to leave with pale faces. This Wanshan Reservoir was too dangerous. They were really afraid that the giant python in the reservoir would rush out to the shore and eat people. Of course, Wang Meng, who was in the reservoir, didn't know. At this moment, Wang Meng was in the reservoir, swallowing the forest boa. He saw that half of the forest boa's body had already been swallowed into Wang Meng's stomach. In less than 10 minutes, Wang Meng had completely swallowed the super python forest boa into his stomach. At the same time, the system's familiar voice sounded in Wang Meng's mind. Ding. Congratulations, host. You have swallowed a super mutated forest boa, obtained 300,000 evolution points. Ding. Congratulations, host. You have met the evolution condition again. Do you want to start the evolution? After hearing the system's voice, Wang Meng, who came back to his senses, immediately replied in his mind, no. In truth, Wang Meng didn't expect that the green super python forest boa would actually give him 300,000 evolution points. It could be said that it provided more evolution points than Wang Meng imagined. It was even more exaggerated. Thinking about this, Wang Meng was very curious. How many evolution points did he accumulate? In just one night, he had already accumulated enough points to evolve twice. Thinking about this, Wang Meng said in his mind, System, open my personal information. In the next moment, his personal information page once again appeared in front of his eyes. Host, Wang Meng type, mutated Titan boa status, adult status, healthy body, 24 meters long, 2,600 kilograms in weight fighting strength, 4,000 kilograms in bite force, 85 kilometers per hour skills, death coil, exceptional venomous fangs, skin camouflage, steel body, super healing, water breathing special, storage space evolution points, 156,000/480000. After looking at his personal information, Wang Meng was completely stupefied. Just how many psychic fish did he kill in one night? In just one night, there was also this super python. It had actually provided him with more than 1 million evolution points. This was enough for him to evolve twice, and he still had extra evolution points. Thinking about this, Wang Meng suddenly had a bold idea. If he really swallowed all the fish in the Huanshan Reservoir, the evolution points he obtained might be enough to increase his height to more than 30 meters. In an instant, Wang Meng became incomparably excited. When night fell, Wang Meng immediately returned to shore from the reservoir. He first visited his own small farm and obtained another 90,000 evolution points. After eating the pig, Wang Meng hurriedly returned to his lair on land. After returning to his nest, Wang Meng impatiently said, System, begin evolution. In the next moment, the system's familiar voice echoed. Ding. Successfully deducted 480,000 evolution points. Beginning evolution. Ow. Chapter 62. In the next moment, the system's familiar voice echoed. Ding. Deducting 480,000 evolution points. Beginning evolution. Following this, Wang Meng lost consciousness once again. Only after the evolution finished did Wang Meng slowly wake up. After waking up, Wang Meng saw the large snakeskin beside him. At the same time, his body had also changed quite a bit. His body had become even bigger. Not only that, Wang Meng's body had also become thicker. Now, Wang Meng was 26 meters long. His body was half a meter thick. His shiny black scales were filled with explosive power, making people feel incomparably shocked. As for how much stronger he had become, Wang Meng did not know. However, every time he leveled up, his strength would greatly increase. Wang Meng was well aware of this. However, he could still evolve again. Wang Meng once again said in his mind, System, begin evolution again. The system's familiar voice echoed. Ding. Successfully deducting 1 million evolution points. Beginning evolution. After saying this, Wang Meng lost consciousness once again. 2 hours later, Wang Meng once again woke up from his evolution. There was no doubt that his body had become bigger. Now, his body length had already reached 28 meters. His large snakeskin head was even larger than a meter. His body was also half a meter wide. Such a huge change could be said to be the difference between heaven and earth from before his evolution. For example, Wang Meng's scales were the size of an adult's palm. So this is my current strength? I feel like I have enough strength to tear apart everything. After seriously feeling the strength in his body, Wang Meng could not help but sigh. His current strength was definitely a lot more terrifying than before. As for how much it had increased, thinking to this point, Wang Meng wanted to check the system's information. The system's voice once again echoed, "Ding. Congratulations, host. You have obtained a new skill, Bloodthirsty Fury." Bloodthirsty Fury. After using this skill, the more damage you receive, the more powerful your fighting strength will become. There is no upper limit. I won't rest until I die. After listening to the system's voice, Wang Meng was stunned. This skill. Wasn't this the skill of the green forest boa? Moreover, this skill was too overpowered. Once he was injured after using it, his combat power would definitely become stronger. Until one of the two sides died. To be honest, Wang Meng didn't think that his opponent's skill would be so overpowered. No wonder during the battle, Wang Meng didn't fight with the anaconda for long, but he discovered that the anaconda's strength had improved and even caught up with him in all aspects. Thinking up to this point, Wang Meng couldn't help but nod. If he hadn't used his peerless venomous fangs, he was afraid that the forest boas would have turned the tables if he had wanted to rely solely on his combat power to crush the forest boas. This was because this skill was really not bad. It could be said to be heaven-defying, but it could also be said to be average. The advantage of Against the Heavens was that if the difference in strength wasn't too great, he wouldn't be killed immediately. After using his skills, he would be able to quickly catch up with his opponent. Furthermore, the more serious the injury, the more powerful his combat power would be. This was simply the best skill to use in a life-and-death battle. Thinking up to this point, Wang Meng was in a good mood. He didn't think that he would be able to obtain such a good skill from this evolution. But at this moment, the system's voice sounded again. "Ding. Congratulations, host, you've obtained special ability. Strength Information Detection." Strength Information Detection can check the general strength of the host opponent, unless the opponent's strength exceeds the host's by too much. After listening to the system's voice, Wang Meng was shocked once again. What kind of skill was this? It could actually detect the opponent's strength? Didn't this mean that when he fought with the enemy, Wang Meng could immediately have a general understanding of the opponent's strength? It had to be said that this skill was also very overpowered. It could detect the opponent's strength in advance. In this way, when Wang Meng fought, he could be on guard and prepared early. Therefore, although this skill was a support-type skill, Wang Meng liked it very much, because this skill did have a huge advantage, which was that if he met a strong enemy, he would be able to choose whether to fight or stay. This was very important. If his strength was about the same, he could naturally continue to fight. But if he couldn't beat the enemy in all aspects, Wang Meng could choose not to provoke them. All in all, this strength information detection skill was very useful to Wang Meng. Thinking up to this point, Wang Meng was in a good mood. 2 evolutions, and he actually obtained 2 new skills. And they were both very useful skills that could be of great help to him. In such a good mood, Wang Meng even had the thought of entering the reservoir to kill again. But when Wang Meng saw that the sky outside was already bright, he couldn't help but shake his head. It seemed that he could only wait for the sky to turn dark before returning to the reservoir. Thinking up to this point, Wang Meng didn't really care and said in his heart, "System, open my personal information." It was clear that Wang Meng wanted to see how much his strength had increased. Following Wang Meng's words, his personal information appeared in front of his eyes. Host, Wang Meng type, mutated Titan Python status, adult status, healthy body, 28 meters long, 5 meters wide, 3,500 kilograms weight. Fighting strength, 6,000 kilograms bite force, 90 kilometers per hour speed skills, death coil, exceptional poison fong, skin camouflage, steel body, super heal, water breathing, bloodthirsty rage special, storage space, fighting strength information detection evolution points 45,000/2,000,000. After looking at his personal information, Wang Mang nodded in satisfaction. At this time, the system's voice rang out again. System update will begin. Estimated time of completion is 24 hours. The host will not be affected by the system update. The host is temporarily unable to evolve within 24 hours. As compensation, the host will be given 50,000 evolution points. After hearing the system's voice, Wang Mang was stunned, but then he became happy. The system update would definitely be beneficial to him. Moreover, it was impossible for him to evolve within 24 hours. Thus, it did not affect Wang Mang at all. On the contrary, he had gotten 50,000 evolution points from the system for free. Thinking about this, Wang Mang became happy. If it was not for the fact that it was inconvenient to go out during the day, he would have gone to the reservoir to have some fun. This was because Wang Mang wanted to see how strong he was right now. His current weight had reached 3 tons. It had nearly doubled. His bite force had reached 12,000 kilograms, a bite force of 6 tons. His speed had also reached 90 kilometers per hour. His body length had reached 28 meters. He was almost 30 meters away. This sudden increase in strength caused Wang Mang's heart to be filled with pride. He believed that in half a year, he would be able to fight against the 2 giant catfish in the reservoir for the geocentric essence. It was even possible that his strength would surpass the 2 giant catfish in half a year. This was because in half a year, Wang Mang was confident that he would become even stronger. After all, he was already this strong. Then what about half a year later? How strong would he become? Wang Mang himself did not know how strong he would become in half a year. Chapter 63. Thinking about this, Wang Mang felt happy. When night fell, Wang Mang once again went to the small-scale farm. After eating the pigs, Wang Mang easily earned 90,000 evolution points. However, this small amount of evolution points was far from enough for him to evolve. Now, Wang Mang needed more and more evolution points to evolve. 2 million evolution points. If he continued to develop like this, he would need to eat at least 2,000 pigs. Luckily, there were a lot of fish in his reservoir. Wang Mang decided to go hunting again tonight. After all, Wang Mang was rather excited about yesterday's harvest. Yesterday, he had killed for a day and had allowed Wang Mang to gather more than 1 million evolution points. This proved that the large fish in his reservoir were enough for him to evolve twice. Thinking about this, Wang Mang moved his snake body and headed towards the reservoir. However, when Wang Mang passed through the forest and was about to reach the reservoir, Wang Mang once again heard movement from the distance. It should be from the forest next door. Not only that, Wang Mang also caught the scent of a large predator in the air. This made Wang Mang feel suspicious. How long had it been since he last sensed the scent of a large predator in his territory? Moreover, there had never been any large predator activity in this area. Why would a large predator appear in his territory this time? Normally, as long as a large predator smelled Wang Mang's scent, they would not rashly enter Wang Mang's territory. However, this time, there were actually so many large predators, making Wang Mang unhappy. These large predators were courting death, although he had not hunted for a long time. However, these large predators were actually active in his territory. This was simply an invisible provocation to the owner of this territory. Thinking about this, Wang Mang moved his huge body and caught the scent in the air, rushing towards the forest next door. When Wang Mang arrived at the forest next door, he saw a black bear tearing at an adult cheetah. Not only that, Wang Mang also sensed the scent of the adult cheetah and the black bear. It was a bit familiar. After carefully observing, Wang Mang laughed in his heart. Isn't this adult cheetah Wang Tung? At that time, his team member Elizabeth Liu and little Teddy dared to play with him. Now that he met them again, isn't this too much of a coincidence? This must be a special fate. For a moment, Wang Mang even had the urge to raise his head and laugh. At the same time, the black bear and Wang Tung who were in the middle of a bloody battle, also noticed Wang Mang. When it saw Wang Mang, the black bear could not help but become excited. Brother Giant Python, this guy is Wang Tung. Hearing this, Wang Mang nodded his huge snake head indifferently. A pair of cold snake eyes stared coldly at Wang Tung. As for the black bear, naturally, they were the members of the Bengal tiger team. At the same time, when Wang Tung saw Wang Mang's physique change, he could not help but feel bitter in his heart. He knew that playing with Wang Mang would not end well. How long had it been since they last met? Wang Mang's physique had grown from more than 10 meters to almost 30 meters now. With such a physique, if he was targeted, would he be able to escape? Especially when he thought about how his team members had played with Wang Mang. He did not need to guess to know what would happen to him. It could be said that when he found out that the mission location was near the Huanshan Reservoir, he knew that the thing he was most worried about had happened. Now that he saw Wang Mang, he became even more desperate. Wang Tung, who was still struggling, gave up completely. He could fight with the black bear because he was quite strong. However, in the eyes of the Colossus Wang Mang, this bit of strength was not even worth mentioning. Because of this, when he met Wang Mang, he knew that he was done for. The thing I was most worried about has happened, Wang Tung said bitterly. At this time, the black bear sneered at the side. You guys are quite bold. You actually dare to play with Brother Giant Python. Wang Mang did not speak. He only moved his body and bit Wang Tung with his bloody mouth. Following Wang Tung's painful scream, Wang Mang directly swallowed him into his stomach. At the same time, the system's voice sounded again. Ding! Congratulations to the host for devouring a mutated cheetah. Obtained 7,000 evolution points. After eating Wang Tung, Wang Mang looked at the black bear and said, "Where's the teddy and his team?" Hearing this, the black bear immediately smiled and said, "Brother Giant Python, your luck is really good this time. In this solo mission, the female teddy that dared to play with Brother Giant Python is really here." Saying this, the black bear immediately smiled and said, "Brother Giant Python, wait for me. I'll go and catch that little bitch for you." Wang Mang nodded indifferently and said, "Okay." Very soon, the black bear disappeared from his sight. As for Wang Mang, he was coiled up on a towering tree. He looked at the lonely night and waited for little Teddy that was as small as an ant. Naturally, he hated this little Teddy so much that his teeth itched. She actually dared to use him and deceive him in the end. Thus, Wang Mang wanted to strangle her to death. Luckily, the black bear did not make Wang Mang wait for too long. In Wang Mang's line of sight, he could only see a forest in the distance. The black bear was holding a little Teddy in its mouth and was rushing over. Before long, the big black bear had already arrived at the empty space in front of Wang Mang. At the same time, little Teddy, Elizabeth Liu, who was held by the black bear, also saw Wang Mang. When she saw Wang Mang, Elizabeth Liu was already trembling in fear. She did not think that she would be so unlucky to meet such a huge creature again. Moreover, compared to the Wang Mang of the past, the huge creature in front of her was too big. She did not even dare to believe that the huge creature in front of her was the giant python that she used to play with. How long had it been? The giant python that she used to play with was already close to 30 meters long. Its body was more than half a meter long, and it was as thick as a few people's waists. Under Wang Mang's gaze, which was as cold as a light bulb, she could not help but tremble in her heart. Seeing this, the black bear grinned. In fact, it was also shocked, because Wang Mang's growth rate would shock it every time they met. It was as if Wang Mang grew up on hormones. Every time they met, it was even more terrifying and huge than before. "Little thing, you didn't think that you would meet me again, right?" Wang Mang opened his bloody mouth and spoke in an extremely cold tone. After hearing Wang Mang's words, little Teddy suppressed the fear in her heart and quickly calmed down. Her mind was moved. She clenched her teeth and threatened Wang Mang fiercely. "If you dare to kill me, I won't let you go. I will ask my father to spend money to send people to kill you." After hearing little Teddy's words, Wang Mang laughed in his heart. He did not think that little Teddy Elizabeth Liu would reach this stage. She actually dared to threaten him. Chapter 64. To be honest, Wang Mang really wanted to know what Elizabeth Liu was relying on to threaten him. Does she really think that she could do whatever she wanted just because her family was rich? So much so that he had to hold back. If one were to say that Liu Shui's family possessed overwhelming power and authority, Wang Mang would be somewhat fearful of them. Although Wang Mang was very powerful now, he was not arrogant enough to think that he could fight against the modern firearms. Therefore, other than the fearsome military fire in the modern era, Wang Mang was not afraid of anything that could threaten him. Therefore, after facing Elizabeth Liu's threat, Wang Mang could not help but laugh. She was still a child, too naive. Did she really think that he would be scared? Big Black Bear was speechless as well. He did not expect little Teddy to threaten Wang Mang under such circumstances. Who gave her the courage to do that? Liang Jingru? One had to know that even he could only try to curry favor with Wang Mang and tremble in fear. At the same time, Wang Mang opened his mouth wide and said coldly, "I'm so scared." After saying those words, in his fury, Wang Mang even twisted the enormous tree beneath him until it let out a snapping sound. It was accompanied by a loud bang. The big tree under Wang Mang was twisted into two pieces by him, severely deformed. And this was the strength that Wang Mang had revealed under his unintentional rage. Seeing this, Elizabeth Liu could not help but tremble in fear. She subconsciously took a few steps back. You can't kill me. If you kill me, I'll ask my father to send someone to kill you." Even at this time, Elizabeth Liu did not forget to threaten in fear. This was because she knew that it was useless to act pitiful in front of Wang Mang. Unfortunately, what she didn't know was that even in the face of her threats, Wang Mang was completely useless. On the contrary, it completely infuriated Wang Mang. In his fury, Wang Mang moved his body and came before little Teddy. Looking down at the little Teddy, Wang Mang smiled. "Elizabeth Liu, right? I'll be waiting for you at Huanshan Reservoir. Let's see what you can do to me." As soon as he finished speaking, Wang Mang opened his mouth and swallowed Elizabeth Liu into his stomach under her horrified gaze. "I won't let you go," little Teddy screamed. Hearing this, Wang Mang ignored it. After swallowing the little Teddy, he obtained a pitiful few hundred evolution points. To the current Wang Mang, this amount of evolution points could be said to be negligible. Thus, if it wasn't to vent his anger, Wang Mang wouldn't have mobilized so many people to deal with her. To Wang Mang, this was a complete waste of time. With this delay, he could enter his own reservoir and hunt a lot of psychic fish. "Brother Giant Python, if we meet this little bitch in a mission next time, we'll help you take care of her." At this time, Black Bear said in an extremely flattering tone. Hearing this, Wang Mang nodded indifferently. "Thank you for your hard work. Unfortunately, we can't kill this little bitch outside of a mission. Only when I kill this little bitch, when I'm not on a mission, can it be considered as truly killing this little bitch." Hearing this, Black Bear nodded and said, "That's right. Brother Giant Python, you caused her to fail her mission, which is a great loss for her. Okay, if we meet this little bitch in a mission in the future, I'll have to trouble you to take care of her. I'll be leaving first." After saying this, Wang Mang moved his huge body and disappeared into the forest. Seeing Wang Mang's departing figure, Black Bear let out a sigh of relief. He didn't know why, but every time he faced Wang Mang, he would feel a terrifying pressure. He knew that this was the fear of facing Wang Mang, because Wang Mang's body was too abnormal. There weren't many large animals on land that could contend against Wang Mang. Perhaps dinosaurs would appear during the age of dinosaurs. However, dinosaurs have been extinct for too long. Currently, the large animals on Earth were probably not Wang Mang's opponent. Perhaps only monsters on the same level as Brother Giant Python can contend against Brother Giant Python. After muttering to himself, Black Bear left and continued to complete his mission. At the same time, Wang Mang had already arrived at the shore of the Huanshan Reservoir. From far away, Wang Mang's appearance scared away the animals on the shore of the reservoir. Following this, Wang Mang swaggered his body and entered the reservoir. Under the moonlight, Wang Mang swam without restraint on the surface of the reservoir. He was prepared to hunt again today and break through 30 meters as soon as possible. After all, it was getting harder and harder for Wang Mang to evolve. The amount of evolution points required was also getting larger and larger. If he relied on his father to send him pigs every day, he would need around 4,000 to 5,000 pigs to evolve once. What did 4,000 to 5,000 pigs mean? He would need to spend around 40 to 50 million. In other words, every time Wang Mang evolved, he would need around 40 to 50 million points. Once Wang Mang reached 30 meters, it would be unrealistic for Wang Mang to rely on his family to evolve. This was because once he reached 30 meters, Wang Mang would need to spend 100 million for every evolution. In other words, he would need to consume tens of thousands of pigs to obtain enough evolution points. Thus, when the time came, his father's net worth would not be of much help to him. Unless he used up his entire fortune to help Wang Mang evolve, he would only be able to help Wang Mang evolve twice. Thus, Wang Mang had already expected this, which was why he started to rely on himself again. This was because if he wanted to continue becoming stronger, he would have to rely on himself when his family could no longer support him. At this moment, after entering the Huanshan Reservoir, Wang Mang once again began to hunt. He was in the Huanshan Reservoir, and just like yesterday, he plundered the psychic fish that were over 5 meters long. In the end, it was a large reservoir. Even though Wang Mang had slaughtered and devoured them, the reservoir was still very large. However, there was still an abundance of fish in the reservoir, and there were still quite a number of psychic fish. Thus, it didn't take long for Wang Mang to catch 7 or 8 psychic fish. After devouring, the system's familiar voice continuously echoed frowny-faced Ding. Congratulations, host. You have devoured an 8-meter-long psychic giant bone tongue fish. Obtained 30,000 evolution points. Ding. Congratulations, host. You have devoured an 11-meter-long psychic giant catfish. Obtained 50,000 evolution points. Ding. Congratulations, host. You have devoured a 6-meter-long psychic giant grass fish. Obtained 60,000 evolution points. Ding. Congratulations, host. You have devoured a 6-meter-long psychic giant red carp. Obtained 80,000 evolution points. Following the system's continuous voice, Wang Mang was extremely shocked. Some fish were clearly not big, but they provided a lot of evolution points. This was what made Wang Mang extremely surprised. The giant red carp was clearly only 6 meters long, but could provide him with 80,000 evolution points. The giant grass fish was clearly only 6 meters long, but it could provide him with 60,000 evolution points. Perhaps this was due to different factors. However, at this time, Wang Mang suddenly saw a huge shadow in front of him rushing over. When Wang Mang saw the huge shadow, he was completely shocked. It was a huge black shadow. Its area was too big. It was as if it was covering a body of water, revealing its incomparably huge body. Similarly, when a huge shadow approached, only then did Wang Mang get a clear look at this terrifying monster. Yes, to Wang Mang, this huge shadow was simply a colossus. Moreover, this colossus was not any other creature, but the giant black catfish. Its body was more than 30 meters long and 7 to 8 meters wide. Its body was as exaggerated as a ship in the water. If one were to compare Wang Mang to a telephone pole, then the giant catfish in front of him was like a skyscraper. The difference in size between the two was too big. Wang Mang's body was only 28 meters long and half a meter wide. However, what about the giant catfish in front of him? Its body was 33 meters long. Moreover, it was fat and big, like a super big rubber ball. Its body's width was close to 8 meters. Compared to the two, Wang Mang's body size was really too small. Chapter 65. Looking at the behemoth in the distance that was rushing over at a terrifying speed, Wang Mang's heart sank. He was also very confused. He didn't cause any trouble for the other party. Why did the giant catfish cause trouble for him instead? Thinking of this, while Wang Mang was confused, he quickly guessed a possibility. That was, he had entered the western waters. Obviously, when he was chasing and killing those big psychic fishes, Wang Mang unknowingly chased those big psychic fishes into the western waters. Thinking of this, Wang Mang quickly looked around and found that it was indeed the case. After pondering for a while, Wang Mang turned around and left. The speed of his swimming was very fast. After a while, Wang Mang was already far away from the nearby waters. But Wang Mang found that the giant catfish was still chasing after him. This made Wang Mang very helpless and puzzled at the same time. What's wrong with this guy? Does it really want to kill me? Thinking of this, Wang Mang couldn't help but feel heavy. He could only continue to swim towards the distant waters. After a few minutes, Wang Mang found that the giant catfish that was chasing him had finally stopped completely. This allowed Wang Mang to heave a sigh of relief. If it continued to chase him, Wang Mang would have to leave the reservoir temporarily. Fortunately, the giant catfish had stopped chasing him. He saw that the giant catfish was in the distant waters behind him, staring at him coldly. Seeing this scene, Wang Mang even felt his scalp tingling. If the other party wanted to eat him, it probably wouldn't be too difficult. The difference in size between the two was too big. Moreover, Wang Mang really didn't have any confidence in winning against this big guy, even if he had almost no shortcomings now. The difference in size was too big. Who knew how strong the bite force of this giant catfish that was comparable to a blue whale was? If he was bitten by it, he was afraid that he would be bitten into two and be dead. Moreover, could his peerless poisonous fangs really be able to kill this big guy that was comparable to a blue whale? Moreover, was this big guy really only big in size and had no other abilities? At this moment, Wang Mang seemed to have thought of something. He quickly said in his heart, "System, using strength detection." In the next moment, Wang Mang saw the information of the giant catfish behind him. It appeared in Wang Mang's mind. Target, giant black-headed catfish. Age, 890. Volume, 33 meters long, 5 meters wide, 150 tons. Realm. Skills. Divine powers. Danger level. Fatal. After reading the information of this giant catfish, Wang Mang was completely stunned. Wasn't there too little combat information? They could only give him a rough estimate of the other party's strength? There wasn't even a hint about the opponent's skills? Furthermore, the other party might even have a divine ability. Thinking of this, Wang Mang felt a headache. One had to know that he didn't even have a divine ability right now. But this giant catfish actually had a divine ability? However, after thinking about it carefully, Wang Mang felt relieved. This giant catfish had lived for almost 900 years. In other words, this giant catfish had existed since ancient times. How could a big guy that could live for so long be weak? There is a saying among the people, a dog doesn't live for 8 years, and a chicken doesn't live for 6 years. Once they lived past this age, both the chicken and the dog would be able to understand humans, which was called psychic. Moreover, this giant catfish was a big guy that had lived for almost 900 years. After thinking of this, Wang Mang looked at this giant catfish with fear. Then he swam away. After seeing Wang Mang leave, this giant catfish disappeared into the water. At the same time, Wang Mang, who was almost hit by the giant catfish, started to hunt in the reservoir around the mountain again. However, Wang Mang was also cautious. He didn't want to go to the western waters unknowingly. Otherwise, the next time he went to the western waters and was surrounded by 2 giant catfish, he wouldn't even have a place to cry, at least before he had enough strength. He didn't want to provoke these 2 giant catfish. That night, Wang Mang was hunting and devouring the giant psychic fish. In terms of numbers, there wasn't much reduction. This was because Wang Mang's hunting range was almost 3/4 of the entire Huanshan Reservoir. Other than the western waters, Wang Mang was hunting without restraint in the rest of the waters. Because of this, Wang Mang's harvest from that night until dawn was very big. After dawn, Wang Mang stopped hunting the giant psychic fish. At the same time, Wang Mang wanted to see what his harvest was tonight. Thinking of this, Wang Mang said in his heart, "System, open my personal information." The next moment, his personal information appeared in front of his eyes. Host, Wang Mang. Type, mutated Titan Python. Status, adult. Status, healthy. Body, 28 meters long, 7 meters wide, 3,500 kilograms weight. Combat power, 6,000 kilograms bite force, 90 kilometers per hour. Skills, death coil, exceptional poison fong, skin camouflage, steel body, super healing, water breathing, bloodthirsty fury. Special, storage space, information detection. Evolution points, 1, 265,000/2,000,000. After looking at his personal information, Wang Mang nodded his head in satisfaction. Tonight's harvest should be at least 1,000,000 evolution points. Right now, he only needed 740,000 evolution points to evolve again. If he worked hard tomorrow night, he might be able to evolve again. Thinking of this, Wang Mang's mood was very good. If he evolved again, his body would officially reach 30 meters in size. At least in terms of size, he would be able to catch up to the giant white python in the south. In truth, if they were to compete in terms of combat power, Wang Mang didn't think that the giant white python would be able to beat him. However, the opponent's skills were a bit dog-like. Moreover, they were effective against the giant catfish. If it didn't have that strange divine ability, it wouldn't have been able to kill him. Wang Mang really wanted to swallow the giant white python into his stomach. In a good mood, Wang Mang twisted his huge body and went to the eastern waters. Coincidentally, Wang Mang saw dark light hunting in the eastern waters. Clearly, although this guy had become a psychic, he still needed to eat. After thinking of this, Wang Mang couldn't help but feel curious. Logically speaking, the two giant catfish in the west were as big as a blue whale. They should also need to eat, right? But with their appetites, could they really be fed in this huge reservoir surrounded by mountains? Just as he thought of this, Wang Mang felt that he was thinking too much. After all, there were too many psychic fish in the Huanshan Reservoir. He reckoned that even the two giant catfish wouldn't have to worry about not having enough food. Moreover, whether it was dark light, the giant catfish, or the giant white python that occupied the reservoir, they all had a tacit understanding and formed an unwritten rule. That is, they wouldn't eat the psychic fish that were less than 6 meters. However, Wang Mang didn't have any moral integrity. He would eat the 6-meter psychic fish. He would only not touch the fish that were less than 5 meters. Oh, wrong. It should be said that Wang Mang wouldn't even look at the psychic fish that were less than 5 meters. Chapter 66. Of course, Wang Mang didn't devour the big psychic fish that was less than 5 meters. In fact, other than the fact that he didn't like it, he also planned to feed it. If he didn't care if it was big or small, he would eat it all. The psychic fish in the reservoir would disappear sooner or later. Only those with a bit of IQ would know this. At the same time, after Wang Mang saw dark light, he subconsciously used combat strength information detection again. The next moment, dark light's information appeared in Wang Mang's mind. Target, mutant black rock python. Age, 280 years. Body shape, 23 meters long, 5 meters wide, 2,200 kilograms weight. Combat strength, 3,800 kilograms. Bite force, 80 kilometers per hour. Realm, intermediate elite. Skills, defensive petrification, stacking strength. Danger level, no threat at all. After reading Dark Light's information, Wang Mang secretly nodded. Sure enough, this guy only had 2 skills, that's all. However, these 2 skills were very practical. However, his combat strength was also good. It didn't matter if it was a skill, or strength, etc. It could be said that the current Dark Light couldn't be compared to Wang Mang. He was even worse than the weakened version. This was mainly because Wang Mang's strength increased too quickly. When Dark Light saw Wang Mang, he was even more shocked. How long had it been since they last met? His king's strength had reached such a level? Moreover, the last time he saw his king, it was only 2 days ago. In 2 days, his king's body had grown so much. Thinking of this, Darklight was even more in awe of his king. As expected of his king, the speed of his growth was too fast. Moreover, when Darklight faced Wang Mang, he felt an even more terrifying sense of suffocation. This proved that his guess was not wrong. Wang Mang had indeed become a lot stronger. This was also the reason why he was in awe of Wang Mang. Because in Darklight's eyes, Wang Mang, this king, was full of mystery and power. In Darklight's opinion, his king had lived for at least 500 years, right? However, what he didn't know was that it hasn't even been half a year since Wang Mang turned into a python. As for Wang Mang, of course, he did not know what Darklight was thinking. He nodded at Darklight and said, "Guard your territory well. Inform me if anything happens." After saying that, Wang Mang swam towards the shore of Chu Lake under Darklight's respectful gaze. But Wang Mang did not want to go ashore. On the contrary, the waters here were the deepest in the eastern waters. Moreover, because this body of water was close to the mountain wall, there were many uneven water caves and stone crevices. As a result, Wang Mang's old nest in the eastern waters was precisely this deep crevice between the mountain walls. The cave that Wang Mang used as an underwater nest was 3 meters high and 2 meters wide. The cave was extremely deep, and the two ends were connected. This used to be the nest of a giant catfish that was more than 10 meters long, but it was occupied by Wang Mang. Moreover, this underwater nest was very comfortable and spacious, so he did not build another nest. When night fell, Wang Mang continued to come out of the cave. Afterwards, Wang Mang once again began to kill crazily, chasing and killing the psychic big fish. At the same time, notifications kept ringing in Wang Mang's mind. Ding! Congratulations, host. You have devoured a 6-meter-long psychic grass carp. Obtained 40,000 evolution points. Ding! Congratulations, host. You have devoured a 7-meter-long variant giant bone tongue fish. Obtained 30,000 evolution points. Ding! Congratulations, host. You have devoured an 8-meter-long variant giant bone tongue fish. Obtained 30,000 evolution points. Ding! Congratulations, host. You have devoured a 9-meter-long psychic 6-whiskers giant catfish. Obtained 30,000 evolution points. This was a continuous stream of notifications. The notifications kept ringing for a long time, until the sun was about to rise. Wang Mang did not hear the notification that he could evolve. There was no doubt that his harvest tonight was not as good as last night or the night before. This was also something that Wang Mang could not do anything about. This was because as he continued to hunt, Wang Mang was shocked to find that the number of psychic big fish in the reservoir had decreased by a lot. Even if there were, most of them were gathered in the western waters. However, the western waters were the territory of the 2 giant catfish, so Wang Mang did not dare to cross the boundary. Thus, Wang Mang's harvest, after busying himself for half the night, was not ideal. At the very least, it was not as good as the previous 2 nights. This also gave Wang Mang a signal. These were the psychic big fish in the Huanshan Reservoir. There were not enough for him to crazily kill and devour every day. Moreover, most of the psychic big fish had already become birds that were startled by the twang of a bow. They all swam to the western waters. It was clear that these psychic big fish were not idiots. They knew that the nearby waters, whether it was the east, north, or south, were not safe. That was because Wang Mang was crazily devouring, killing, and hunting them down. Therefore, most of the psychic big fish ran to the waters that they did not dare to run to in the past, which was the western waters. Although the 2 giant catfish in the western waters could also be eaten, the amount of food that they ate at one time was not large. Moreover, after eating once, they would not eat again for a long time. How was it like Wang Mang? It was simply treating them like leeks. They were harvested every day. However, even if they were leeks, they would not be able to endure being harvested like this every day. Moreover, they were psychic big fish, so they were naturally not stupid. Therefore, the once dangerous waters in the west had become the waters that they felt were relatively safe. This was because, in these 3 days, regardless of whether it was the east, south, or north, Wang Mang was hunting and killing. In the entire reservoir, only the western part of the body of water remained calm and tranquil. Thus, it was inevitable that most of the psychic big fish would gather in the western waters. It seems that it will be difficult to obtain evolution points so easily in the future. Now, the big fish have all run to the western waters. Moreover, with my hunting these past few days, the number of psychic big fish has decreased a lot. Wang Mang helplessly smiled bitterly and gave up the idea of continuing to hunt. He also knew why the big fish in the reservoir were all running to the west. Wasn't he the main culprit? If he continued to hunt like this, he reckoned that in the future, the psychic big fish would dare to run here. Moreover, their numbers would only become fewer and fewer, because if he hunted every day, these psychic big fish would not have the time to recover their vitality. Thinking of this, Wang Mang decided to temporarily stop hunting the psychic big fish in the reservoir, or wait until he had the strength to kill the giant catfish in the western waters. At that time, the entire Huanshan reservoir would be under his control. He could harvest these psychic big fish whenever he wanted. At the same time, Wang Mang also wanted to know, after a night of hard work, now how many evolution points did he need to evolve again? Thinking of this, Wang Mang silently said, "System, open my personal information." In the next moment, his personal information appeared in front of his eyes. Host, Wang Mang. Type, mutated Titan Python. Status, adult. Status, healthy. Body, 28 meters long, 7 meters wide, 3,500 kilograms weight. Combat strength, 6,000 kilograms. Bite force, 90 kilometers per hour. Skills, Death Coil, Exceptional Poison Fong, Skin Camouflage, Steel Body, Super Healing, Water Breathing, Bloodthirsty Fury. Special, Storage Space, Combat Strength Information Detection. Evolution Points, 1, 932, 000/2, 000,000. After looking at his personal information, Wang Mang immediately smiled with satisfaction. He went ashore and ate the pigs in the small farm. It was almost time to evolve again, because tonight, Wang Mang was hunting the psychic big fish and did not have time to eat the pigs. Dear readers, please read the update notice in the comment section of this chapter. Thank you. Chapter 67. Once he finished eating the 200 pigs, the evolution points he obtained would be enough for him to evolve once again. Thinking up to here, Wang Mang's mood was very good. He quickly moved his huge body and rushed toward the shore. He still wanted to go to his own small farm and finish eating the 200 pigs before daybreak. Then he would return to the nest on the shore and evolve once again. His body would reach 30 meters. Thinking up to here, Wang Mang swam back to the shore for the reservoir and rushed towards the small farm without stopping. When he got close to the small farm, Wang Mang was able to capture the heat and smell of the prey in the air. Wang Mang quickly rushed into the farm and began to crazily hunt the fat white pigs in the pig pen. At the same time, the system's familiar voice resounded in Wang Mang's mind. Ding. Congratulations, host. Devoured an adult pig. Obtained 483 evolution points. Ding. Congratulations, host. Devoured an adult pig. Obtained 468 evolution points. Ding. Congratulations, host. Devoured an adult pig. Obtained 499 evolution points. A full 2 hours later. Only then did the miserable shrieks in the small farm stop. At the same time, an incomparably huge black python that reeked of blood came out of the pig pen. This huge monster was Wang Mang. He raised his head and looked at the sky. It was already dawn. Luckily, after devouring the 200 pigs in the pig pen, Wang Mang had already gathered enough evolution points to evolve once again. Thus, Wang Mang prepared to quickly return to the nest and begin his evolution once again. However, When Wang Mang moved his body and prepared to leave, he bumped into someone. Yes, this was the first time Wang Mang bumped into someone. Outside the farm, a few middle-aged men and women were talking and laughing as they walked over. However, when they saw Wang Mang coming out of the farm, their expressions froze. At this moment, what appeared in their line of sight was a super huge monster. This was a super huge python that they had never seen before. This huge python's body was too big. To what extent? It was so big that it was unheard of and unseen. It was almost 30 meters long, and its body was as thick as 4 people's waists combined. Its entire body was as black as ink, and its scales shone brightly under the sun. No matter who saw this scene, they would tremble in fear. Because of this, the employees who came to work at the farm were all stunned. It wasn't until Wang Mang disappeared from their sight that they came back to their senses a few minutes later. Am I seeing things? Is there really a giant python near the Huanshan Reservoir? Yes. My son said that there was a super giant python nearby. I didn't believe him at first. That's too scary. He's about to turn into a demon. That snake is too big. At this moment, these middle-aged employees were clearly frightened to the point of overreacting. They even had a bold guess in their hearts. Could a super huge black python that had turned into a demon be Boss Wong's secret pet? Otherwise, why would Boss Wong not care about so many pigs being eaten every day? After thinking about this, they were horrified to find that the situation was similar to what they had guessed. After all, there were 200 pigs every day. 2 million. Every day, the pigs in the small farm would mysteriously disappear. After a long time, they already had doubts in their hearts. It seemed that this was the only explanation that could make sense. Otherwise, why would the pigs that were sent to the small farm every day disappear without a trace? Thinking of this, these employees could only feel their scalps tingling. What should we do? A middle-aged man said with a pale face. Should we tell the news to Elder Yang? The middle-aged woman was still in shock. But I don't want to work here anymore. At this time, another woman said with a trembling voice and a pale face. Obviously, they were all very frightened. Even the scene that they saw just now. They would probably never forget it for the rest of their lives. What if Boss Wong kills us to silence us? That's right. Will Boss Wong let us go? At this time, the other employees were worried. After discussing for a long time, they quickly left the small farm. In the end, they still told Elder Yang about the disappearance. Elder Yang then informed Wang Mang's father. In the end, the solution that he got was, the wages of these 5 employees would be doubled. Moreover, the working hours were also changed. From the original 8 o'clock in the morning, it was changed to 10 o'clock. Of course, these 5 employees were also fiercely warned by Elder Yang to pretend that they did not know anything. In the end, under the temptation of money, these 5 employees could only endure their fear and continue to work as usual. Although Wang Mang did not know about this news, Wang Mang believed that his father would definitely help him deal with it. Thus, after Wang Mang left the farm, he immediately returned to the nest. After returning to the nest, Wang Mang impatiently said, "System, begin the evolution." Just as he said that, the system's familiar voice sounded ding. Successfully deducted 2 million evolution points. Beginning evolution. Then, Wang Mang completely lost consciousness. Only 2 hours later, did Wang Mang slowly wake up from the evolution. When Wang Mang woke up, the first thing he saw was still a large snake skin. At the same time, Wang Mang also noticed his strength, defense, speed, size, and other attributes. It could be said that all of his attributes had improved by quite a bit. As for how much he had improved, Wang Mang did not know. However, every time he evolved, the system had never disappointed him. This was because every time he evolved, it was not only his body that improved. It was an all-around improvement. The only thing that Wang Mang felt was that he did not obtain any skills this time. Regarding this, Wang Mang, who was already mentally prepared, was not too disappointed. His current fighting strength and other attributes did not have any shortcomings. Thus, Wang Meng's desire for skills was not as strong as before. Thinking about this, Wang Meng's mood became a lot better. He silently said in his heart, "System, check my personal information." Following Wang Meng's words, his personal information appeared in his mind. However, what made Wang Meng slightly surprised was that his personal information seemed to have changed after the system update. Host, Wang Meng type. Mutated Titan Python status. Peak status. Healthy body. 30 meters long, 8 meters wide for 1,000 kilograms weight fighting strength. 7,000 kilograms bite force. 92 kilometers per hour skills. Death coil. Exceptional poison fong. Skin camouflage. Steel body. Super healing. Water breathing. Bloodthirsty. Fury special. Storage space. Information detection evolution points. 22,000/4,000,000 shop. Not open. Chapter 68. After looking at his personal information, Wang Meng discovered that there was a new function in his information. Shopping mall? Out of curiosity, Wang Meng asked, "System, what does the shopping mall sell? How do I open the shopping mall?" The system's familiar voice echoed, "You need a certain amount of evolution points to open the shopping mall. Everything in the shopping mall has a price tag. The host needs to work hard to earn evolution points to open the shopping mall." After listening to the system's explanation, Wang Meng suddenly understood and asked, "How many evolution points do I need to open the shopping mall?" The system explained, "Opening the shopping mall now requires the amount needed for the host's next evolution. Assuming that the host's next evolution requires 4 million evolution points, then opening the shopping mall now requires 4 million evolution points." After listening to the system's explanation, Wang Meng was speechless and could not help but secretly curse. This system is truly a profiteer. In short, if he wanted to open the shopping mall, he would need the evolution points for the next evolution. For example, if Wang Meng's strength increased, then he would need tens of millions of evolution points for the next evolution. Then, the evolution points needed to open the shopping mall would be tens of millions. In other words, the earlier he opened the shopping mall, the better. The longer he dragged it out, the more useless it would be. This was because the evolution points needed to open the shopping mall were closely related to his strength. In any case, the system wanted to cheat him of the evolution points for the next evolution. Thinking about this, Wang Meng felt somewhat helpless. However, he temporarily did not have the idea of opening the shopping mall. He needed 4 million evolution points for the next evolution. Thus, if Wang Meng wanted to evolve again, it would not be possible in a short amount of time. Thus, he could put the idea of opening the shopping mall aside for now. Something worth mentioning was, after this evolution, Wang Meng's strength had greatly increased. His weight had reached 4,000 kilograms. In other words, his weight had reached 4 tons. His body length had reached 30 meters. His body width had almost reached 1 meter. His bite force had reached 7 tons. He could bite a target that weighed 7 tons. His speed had also reached 92 kilometers per hour. Such speed was undoubtedly one of the best among the top predators on the continent. This kind of strength made Wang Meng's heart swell. If it wasn't for the fact that there were 2 giant catfish in the reservoir that could threaten him, Wang Meng would have already left. This kind of strength is not enough for me to be invincible. I still have to develop myself. Wang Meng, who was silently reminding himself in his heart, quickly adjusted his attitude. After that, Wang Meng raised his head and looked outside the lair. He then sat down cross-legged and entered a state of rest. Now that it was daytime, Wang Meng naturally didn't want to go out. Furthermore, he had met someone earlier. Wang Meng became even more cautious. If he were to be completely exposed to society, Wang Meng would definitely be in great danger. Because at that time, there would always be people who would develop a strong interest in him. It was even possible that they would send professionals to capture him. Wang Meng was not worried about this. He was worried about attracting the attention of the Red Empire. After all, Wang Mang was still unable to fight against firearms at his current stage. In fact, there were many things that could threaten him. Rifle? Machine gun? Bomb? Rocket launcher? Wang Mang might be able to withstand the first three. But what if they used rocket launchers to bombard him? Even if he could withstand a few rocket launchers, what about more rocket launchers? Or what about even more exaggerated firearms? There was no doubt about the result. He definitely wouldn't be able to withstand it. Even if Wang Mang became very strong, he wouldn't be able to withstand firearms in a short period of time. Therefore, keeping a low profile was the way to go. Well, if he really wanted to be unreasonable, he could still bully the weak. After all, water nurtured people. What kind of person would raise what kind of dog? Wang Mang was the same as his Black Panther. When facing the strong, he was careful. When facing the weak, he attacked with heavy punches. Wang Mang only came out of the lair at night. In this 3-hectare territory, Wang Mang was the ruler. Wherever he passed, the animals in the jungle would tremble. This made Wang Mang feel very superior, because these animals were trembling. It represented his position as the ruler of this area. Soon, Wang Mang arrived at a small farm. He first ate the 200 pigs and obtained 90,000 evolution points. Then, Wang Mang, who had nothing to do, prepared to patrol his territory. Moreover, as he became stronger and stronger, his territory naturally had to expand a bit. In the past, his territory was only a 2-kilometer radius of the jungle. Now, his body had reached 30 meters. Then expanding his territory to a 10-kilometer radius shouldn't be a problem, right? Thinking about this, Wang Mang decided to include the jungle behind the mountain into his territory. Then, he would earn another 10,000 evolution points every day. At least, he would earn 100,000 evolution points every day. Thinking about this, Wang Mang's mood became very good. He moved his body and began to move through the jungle. Moreover, in order to deliberately leave his scent, Wang Mang deliberately moved his body slowly. Wang Mang was telling other apex predators that this area would be his territory in the future. If they dared to cross into his territory, then it would be a provocation. However, when Wang Mang entered the mountain behind the mountain, he caught the scent of more than 10 humans in the air. Moreover, these scents were very dense. This proved that someone had passed by here not long ago. But it was the middle of the night. How could there be human scents? What were these guys doing deep in the forest in the middle of the night? Could it be that they came to the mountain in the middle of the night to look for ghosts? Holding on to his suspicions, Wang Mang caught the scent and quickly chased after it. 10 minutes later, Wang Mang saw more than 10 figures. They were currently using flashlights to search for something in the jungle. Then, Wang Mang heard a few complaining voices. "Big brother, tell me, why did we run to the mountains in the middle of the night to catch a big python? Moreover, the big python in the video even killed 5 Manchurian tigers. Can we really do it?" Yes, the super black python in the video is too savage. I really don't want to look for that big guy. Hearing this, the scar-faced man who was walking at the front with a shotgun coldly said, "The reward for this mission is 5 million. After doing this job, we can divide it evenly and each of us can get a few 100,000. Moreover, it's not like they want us to catch that big python. Boss Lou said that the dead ones will be 5 million and the living ones will be 10 million. We have guns in our hands. What are we afraid of? If we can't beat it, we could just run." Hearing this, everyone's eyes lit up and they stopped complaining. This was because the reward for this mission was too high. If they could not beat it, they could just run. Moreover, they had guns in their hands. Could that super black python be more powerful than a spear? In a short period of time, they became full of confidence. They were determined to complete this mission. At the same time, Wang Mang, who was hiding in the dark, had a pair of extremely cold snake eyes. He never would have thought that these people were actually here for him. Chapter 69. Moreover, from the tone of these people, someone had paid them to come here. Thinking of this, Wang Mang fell into deep thought. Boss Lou? When did he offend this so-called Boss Lou? After thinking for a long time, Wang Mang still couldn't think of who he had offended. Wait! Suddenly, a name emerged in Wang Mang's mind. This caused Wang Mang's ice-cold snake eyes to become incomparably scarlet. He thought of a possibility. He didn't offend anyone. Only in the beast god space did he offend a lot of people. The only one with the deepest conflict was Elizabeth Liu, who had played him. That annoying Teddy. Thinking of this, Wang Mang became more and more certain. He still remembered the ruthless words that the other party said when he killed her. Moreover, this Elizabeth Liu's family was also very rich. More importantly, her surname was Liu. Her father's surname was naturally Liu. Moreover, this was the most likely. Thinking of this, Wang Mang finally found the culprit. The source of this disaster was Elizabeth Liu. Teddy Elizabeth Liu? Is this your revenge? Wang Mang's killing intent rose. At the same time, he also felt that it was very funny. This Elizabeth Liu was looking down on him too much? Did she really think that with a few guns, she could kill him? If these people had come to kill him some time ago and still brought hunting guns, then the threat to Wang Mang was indeed very big. But don't forget, it was not just some time ago. Wang Mang's speed of improving his strength was too fast, and he had obtained a steel body. Once a skill was used, Wang Mang's entire body was almost completely steel-like. At that time, even a gun couldn't kill him, unless a large number of bombs were used to blow Wang Mang into dregs, or use a rocket launcher to blow Wang Mang into dregs. Or perhaps they would use even more lethal firearms to deal with Wang Mang. Otherwise, just rifles and shotguns would not be enough to threaten Wang Mang. Of course, if they had a large number of hunting guns and rifles, they could also threaten him. However, a dozen hunting rifles were nothing to Wang Mang. This was because even though these shots could cause quite a bit of damage to Wang Mang, it was still not enough. However, if he wanted to threaten Wang Mang's life, it was still not enough. Thinking up to this point, Wang Mang's killing intent grew even stronger. His cold snake eyes stared coldly at the dozen or so figures in the forest in front of him. At this moment, the dozen or so people who had come to hunt Wang Mang were still searching for Wang Mang's tracks. Obviously, they still didn't know. The target they had been searching for was already watching them in the dark. As for when to kill them, was it possible for a target targeted by Wang Mang to escape? Of course. In fact, Wang Mang's mind was also in a fierce struggle. Originally, Wang Mang thought that he would not provoke others. Others would not come to find trouble with him. However, the problem was that trouble had already come to him. Moreover, these people were here for his life. It was inevitable that there would be conflicts with others. As for the problem that had troubled Wang Mang for so long, what was it? Actually, the problem was very simple. What he was troubled about was whether to eat them or not. Although Wang Mang had eaten a cultivator last time. Moreover, the taste was not bad. It felt as crispy as eating fried dough twists. However, Wang Mang was afraid that he would be addicted to it. After pondering for a while, Wang Mang's scarlet snake eyes became incomparably cold and indifferent. He had already made a decision in his heart. Since the other party had come to kill him, he had to be prepared to die. He did not have the habit of being bullied. Even if he did not eat these guys, they would not be able to leave alive. Moreover, Wang Mang had thought about it carefully. How heavy could a person be? At most, it would be 100 kilograms. A person, at most, would be 100 or so evolution points. He did not care about this little bit of evolution points. Of course, if it was like the old cultivator Li Tianxing, it would be worth a lot of evolution points. Then please pretend that he did not say the above words. Thinking up to here, Wang Mang moved his body and quickly caught up with the group of people in front of him. At the same time, the small team that was searching for Wang Mang's tracks also heard the faint movement from behind. The leader, the scarred man, was shocked. He suddenly turned his head and tightly held the hunting rifle in his hand. He angrily shouted towards the darkness behind him, "Who is it? Come out!" Hearing this, the members of the small team shone the flashlights in their hands behind them. Each of them nervously held the hunting rifle in their hands, because in the deep mountains and old forests, there would often be wild beasts roaming about. If they were not careful, they might die. After all, these people were poachers and had developed a habit of being cautious. Seeing that everyone had discovered him, Wang Mang, who was not prepared to launch a sneak attack, slowly moved his body and drilled out from the darkness. He arched his 7 to 8 meter tall, pitch-black snake head, completely revealing his huge body. Seeing this scene, everyone present was stunned. One after another, they sucked in a breath of cold air. Even a few members who could not bear were so scared that their faces turned pale, and they fell to the ground. For a moment, everyone was scared silly. They only felt their scalps go numb. They looked up at the huge monster in front of them in fright. They continuously swallowed their saliva. How is this possible? How can there be such a big snake in this world? Impossible. The black giant python in the video was at most 20 meters. It is definitely not this big. Is this really a snake? For a moment, this small team of people became restless. Voices filled with fear were heard one after another. Clearly, they who were originally prepared to hunt Wang Mang. After seeing their target, they were all scared to the point of talking nonsense. This was seriously inconsistent with the goal they were looking for. They were looking for the super giant python that was less than 20 meters long in the video some time ago. However, this super giant black python in front of them was at least 30 meters long. For a moment, even the leader of the team, the man with the scar face, saw Wang Mang. He was also scared to the point that his face turned green. He even wanted to curse out loud. This is not the target I am looking for. Just when this small team was in chaos and was so scared that they were doubting their lives. Wang Mang's cold snake eyes also stared at the group of prey in front of him. He said coldly, "Are you looking for me?" When they heard Wang Mang's words, the poaching team was so frightened that their eyes were wide open. How is this possible? He spoke. F*CK. I must be dreaming. Brother, you slapped me. I must be F*King dreaming. Impossible. Did it become a demon? Seeing that this small team was so scared that they were panicking, Wang Mang shook his head secretly. These guys were simply no threat to him. It was not an exaggeration to say that they were here to die. At this point, Wang Mang moved his body and quickly rushed towards these guys. What made Wang Mang even more speechless was that these guys had not recovered from their shock yet. At this moment, the first to recover was the leader of the team, the man with the scar face. His face was full of horror, and he shouted in a trembling voice, "Shoot! Quickly shoot! He is coming! He is rushing towards us! Quickly shoot him to death! Happy New Year to all my book friends and brothers! May everything go well! Thank you very much for your support! Thank you!" Chapter 70. But even he, the leader, didn't know what to do. How could the rest of the poachers be any better? In a panic, the scar-faced man pulled the trigger subconsciously at Wang Mang. The shotgun in his hand spat out flames. Bang! 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 Several gunshots were heard. The shotgun bullets hit Wang Mang directly. But Wang Mang was prepared and had already used his body of steel. Therefore, when the shotgun bullets hit his body, there was no scene of blood exploding. On the contrary, when the bullets hit his body, there were several sparks. At the same time, there were clanging sounds of steel hitting each other. Of course, Wang Mang also felt the sharp pain coming from his body. After all, although Wang Mang's body had turned into steel, but he didn't lose his sense of pain. The pain of being hit by the bullets made Wang Mang even more furious. The bullets hurt too much. Therefore, Wang Mang rushed to the crowd even faster. At the same time, seeing that the bullets couldn't hurt Wang Mang, the scar-faced man was completely stunned. He opened his mouth wide, and his face was full of astonishment. He really couldn't understand. Why are there sparks flying out of my bullets? Shouldn't this giant python's skin be torn open by his bullets? What he was holding was a hunting rifle with great power and lethality. How could this be? Was this giant snake demon in front of him invulnerable to weapons? Thinking of this, he only felt his scalp tingling. He was even more terrified. However, the current situation didn't allow him to think more. Seeing that Wang Mang was even faster, he he pulled the trigger in horror. Similarly, the rest of the team members who had come back to their senses. When they saw Wang Mang rushing over, they also began to shoot wildly in panic. Duh, 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 dang, 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 accompanied by more than 10 people shooting wildly. Dense bullets fell like raindrops. Countless sparks hit Wang Mang's body. Wang Mang was also grimacing in pain from these guys. At the same time, his anger had also accumulated to the extreme. Fortunately, these enemies were close at hand. When Wang Mang approached, these people subconsciously wanted to retreat. However, Wang Mang swung his strong and powerful tail and swept it away. Accompanied by several screams. 5 or 6 people didn't dodge Wang Mang's tail. These 5 to 6 people were directly sent flying by Wang Mang. Accompanied by the sound of bones breaking, he flew several meters away before crashing to the ground in a sorry state. In an instant, these 6 people their spines were all broken by Wang Mang. They lay on the ground to the ground. The rest of the team members after seeing this scene, he was scared out of his wits. They kept retreating. They even had the urge to run. However, they were horrified to find that their legs didn't listen to them. If someone observed carefully, they would see that among the remaining 6 people who had just escaped, 2 of them were so scared that their legs had turned to jelly. One of them was so scared that he wet his pants. "Boss, what should we do? He can't be killed at all." "Yeah, bullets can't even hurt him. We're finished. We're finished." At this moment, the remaining few people were extremely emotional. They were even scared to despair by Wang Mang's terrifying methods. After all, the hunting rifles they relied on couldn't even hurt Wang Mang. What else could they do? Run? Could they really run away? Wang Mang's speed made them despair. Similarly, Wang Mang's strength made them despair. Was this the legendary monster? Thinking of this, fear welled up in their hearts. The leader, the scar-faced man, was so scared that his face turned pale. Finally, under the gaze of Wang Mang's cold snake eyes, the leader, the scar-faced man, threw away the hunting rifle in his hand and knelt in front of Wang Mang. "Snake Sage, please spare us. Snake Sage, we really didn't mean to offend you." As he spoke, the scar-faced man kept kowtowing to Wang Mang, begging for mercy. "Great deity Snake, I beg you to spare us. Snake Sage, please have mercy and let us go. I have an 80-year-old mother and children waiting to be fed. Snake Sage, half of my mother's body is paralyzed, and she's waiting for me to go home and take care of her. Great deity Snake, my father is suffering from Alzheimer's disease, and I have 2 retarded sons to raise. Please spare my pathetic life." Seeing that their boss was so spineless, the rest of the team threw away their hunting rifles and knelt on the ground to beg for mercy. Seeing this, Wang Mang, who was originally furious, was suddenly speechless. He didn't expect that these people who came to find trouble with him were all from poor families. Of course, Wang Mang naturally wouldn't believe such nonsense. Therefore, Wang Mang directly opened his bloody mouth. He bit one of them in half at the waist. In an instant, blood splattered everywhere. The hot blood splattered the rest of the people, and they were stunned. However, they were stunned, but Wang Mang wasn't. After spitting out half of the body, Wang Mang opened his bloody mouth again, accompanied by shrill screams. Wang Mang bit another person in half. In almost a moment, 2 people had died. When the other 4 saw this scene, they were so frightened that they wanted to run away. But Wang Mang didn't give them a chance, and fiercely whipped out his huge tail. Bang! Accompanied by a loud noise. Wang Mang didn't hold back at all. His huge tail directly whipped the 4 people to death on the spot. Their heads exploded like watermelons, and blood splattered everywhere. In addition, the corpses of these guys were twisted beyond recognition. Seeing this horrifying scene, the 6 people who had already lost their ability to fight in the distance were so frightened that their faces turned pale. One of them had just woken up, and his eyes rolled back, and he fainted from fear. The other 5 people were even more frightened. Driven by fear, They crawled away, trying to escape, because they knew that if they stayed, they would also die. However, their spines were broken, and they couldn't run even if they wanted to. Therefore, they could only wait for death in the same place, terrified, especially when they saw Wang Mang approaching. They were so frightened that they screamed, "Woo-woo! I don't want to die. Go away! Go away! Snake Immortal, please let us go. Ah, don't come over." The few people were so frightened that they became emotional, and they screamed and shouted crazily. Especially when they saw Wang Mang getting closer and closer to them, they widened their eyes in fear. Because Wang Mang's speed wasn't fast, and he deliberately moved his body very slowly. This feeling of waiting for death, it was simply torture that they had never experienced before. This was triple torture on the mind, the body, and the spirit. 3 of them were eventually scared to death by Wang Mang. The other 2 were directly whipped to death by Wang Mang's tail. After doing all this, Wang Mang nodded in satisfaction, and he didn't plan to clean up the bodies, because the wild beasts in the forest would clean up the battlefield for him. They would smell the blood and rush over to eat these bodies. Thinking of this, Wang Mang happily moved his huge body and left the forest. But not long after Wang Mang left, he heard a burst of joyful laughter behind him. "Aha! I'm actually still alive. I'm actually still alive." Chapter 71. After hearing this loud laughter, Wang Mang was stunned and felt a little surprised. When he turned around to look, he really did miss one. At this moment, this fish that escaped the net was struggling to get up from the ground excitedly. He looked at all his companions who had died tragically around him and rejoiced in his heart. Clearly, he didn't expect that he would be able to escape. The joy of surviving a disaster was something that ordinary people couldn't understand. Just as he was looking around with a face full of joy, he inadvertently saw a huge creature behind him in the darkness, staring at him indifferently. When he saw Wang Mang, he felt as if he was struck by lightning. The happy smile on his face froze. Then, there was no then, because he couldn't smile anymore. Actually, Wang Mang was also very speechless. If this guy didn't cry out, Wang Mang really missed him. Too careless. Fortunately, this guy was very loyal. When he was about to leave, he even specially reminded him. In order to repay this guy, Wang Mang naturally wouldn't be merciful. Therefore, he directly sent him on his way. After that, Wang Mang left the nearby forest and continued to expand his territory. Moreover, he left his strong scent in the vicinity of his territory. This process was very smooth, because Wang Mang's body was too big. Any large predator that encountered Wang Mang in the forest would be scared away. It could be said that Wang Mang didn't even need to do anything. Once his body appeared, he could scare away the wild beasts in the forest. 2 hours later, Wang Mang successfully expanded his territory to a radius of 10 miles. After doing all this, Wang Mang returned to his own nest. Tonight, he didn't choose to enter the reservoir. Wang Mang also didn't plan to start harvesting leeks after leaving for just a day or 2. Although the fish's memory only lasted 7 seconds, Wang Mang didn't think so. Let's not talk about how much memory the fish had, but the psychic fish's memory was definitely more than 7 seconds. After devouring fish that were less than 5 meters, he would indeed gain some evolution points. However, this was drinking blood to quench one's thirst. Wang Mang didn't do that. Therefore, it was better to stay put for a period of time. However, sometimes things were not as simple as they seemed, because even if Wang Mang didn't look for trouble, there would always be trouble looking for him. The next day passed quickly. When night fell, after Wang Mang came out of the nest, the first thing he did was to go to the small farm and eat the 200 pigs that had been delivered. He gained another 90,000 evolution points. After eating the pig, Wang Mang passed through the forest and walked back to the nest. Then, Wang Mang saw a flashlight beam coming from afar. It abruptly turned its huge snake head to look. Wang Mang saw more than 10 figures rushing over from afar. At the same time, a loud shout was heard. "Brothers, there's movement over here." After hearing the human voice, Wang Mang's heart sank again. Could it be that trouble was coming again? When more than 10 figures rushed over, Wang Mang's heart sank. He didn't choose to run away. Instead, he quickly coiled around the tree. In just a short moment, Wang Mang easily coiled his huge body around the tree. After a few minutes, Wang Mang saw more than 10 figures rushing over from afar. These people were also carrying hunting rifles. Moreover, their equipment was even better than last night's. This made Wang Mang very puzzled. How could guns be so easily obtained these days? So many hunting rifles? And pistols? And shotguns? An AK-47S? These equipment were usually very difficult to obtain. Wang Mang was a bit confused. He was even more puzzled. Where did these guys get their weapons? Thinking about this, Wang Mang calmed down and looked down at the 10 people under the tree. At this time, a muscular young man with a fierce expression frowned and said, "I can confirm that I heard movement here just now." Hearing this, a middle-aged man with a cold expression, who was blind in one eye, nodded and said, "Everyone look carefully." According to the information provided by the employer, the nest of the black python is nearby. Hearing the one-eyed man's words, the rest of the people nodded. Then, they took out their flashlights and carefully searched around. At this moment, how could Wang Mang, who was coiled around the tree, not know that these guys were also here to cause trouble for him? Thinking about this, Wang Mang's heart became extremely gloomy. Moreover, from their tone, they were still hired by someone. Wang Mang didn't even need to think to know that it must be that bitch Elizabeth Liu. Thinking about this, Wang Mang's killing intent rose. He had only come here once yesterday, so it was fine. Why was there no end to it? Did she really think that he was easy to bully? To be honest, Wang Mang just didn't want to be calculated with this bitch. After all, now he only wanted to develop wretchedly and wait until he was invincible before coming out. But Elizabeth Liu, this bitch, actually found these ants to kill him time and time again. Although Wang Mang didn't take these people seriously. But Wang Mang's anger was completely ignited. "Damn bitch, since you want to die, I'll kill you." Thinking of this, Wang Mang suppressed the strong killing intent in his heart. He had already decided that after getting rid of these people, he would also kill that bitch Elizabeth Liu. This way, he could completely solve the root of the problem. As the saying goes, if you cut the grass without removing the roots, it will grow again when the spring breeze blows. So, even if this bitch was thousands of miles away, this time, Wang Mang had to kill her. At this moment, several exclamations suddenly came from under the tree. "Boss, there are active traces of the giant python nearby. Everyone, be careful. That giant python is definitely nearby." Hearing this, more than 10 people under the tree became alert. Seeing this scene, Wang Mang slowly adjusted his muscles. His cold snake eyes looked down at these prey in front of him. When one of them walked to the tree where Wang Mang was, Wang Mang directly opened his bloody mouth and bit down on this person's waist from top to bottom, splitting him in two. This unlucky guy didn't even have time to scream before he died. This scene was often seen in movies. At this moment, it was completely seen by these people with their own eyes. That was because Wang Mang had caused quite a commotion. After he bit a guy to death, the rest of the people came back to their senses. They all stared at the black super python in front of them, its body coiled around the tree, its huge snake head vertical in mid-air. When they saw that Wang Mang's bloody mouth was still dripping blood and a pair of scarlet snake eyes were staring at them, they couldn't help but gasp. Because the behemoth in front of them was really too big. It was simply beyond their expectations. Is this really the target we're looking for? That's impossible. It's too big. Everyone, be careful. This big guy is much more ferocious than an African lion. At this moment, the people who were talking about it all stepped back vigilantly. The one-eyed man in charge of leading the team couldn't help but be shocked. Wang Mang's body was bigger than he imagined, but they were all ruthless people who lived on the edge of a knife. After calming down, they didn't feel sad for the dead team members at all. Instead, they looked at Wang Mang curiously and playfully. The one-eyed man in charge even pulled the trigger and said with a grim smile, "So be it if it's big. When the time comes, we can find employers to pay more." Hearing the one-eyed man's words, the rest of the team members also laughed. Huh, boss is right. Yeah, even if such a big python's corpse is sold to those who do biological research, they will definitely be very interested. End of 2 chapters. Thank you for your support. As long as I have time, I will definitely squeeze out more chapters. I ask for your support. Chapter 72. Obviously, everyone in this team was a ruthless character. They were not afraid at all. Instead, they were thinking of how to sell Wang Mang for a good price. After hearing their words, Wang Mang could not help but laugh. These guys were even crazier than the poaching team from last night. However, Wang Mang had to admit, the endurance and ruthlessness of these fellows were not something that the people from yesterday could compare to. Although those people from last night were poachers, they were far less ruthless than this team in front of him. The difference was obvious at a glance. From courage to boldness to equipment and so on. It was a gap of 2 different levels of strength. Of course, these differences did not make much of a difference to Wang Mang. In Wang Mang's eyes, these reckless people should all die. Do they really think that they could kill him with a few rifles and grenades? If Wang Mang was so easy to kill, he would have died last night. Therefore, with the experience of dealing with guns, Wang Mang directly used his skill. Body of Steel. Super self-healing. After Wang Mang used his skill, his pitch-black body became thick and heavy, and his snake scales were so black that they shone brightly. After that, Wang Mang's huge body coiled down from the tree and returned to the ground easily. At this moment, following Wang Mang's actions, the people in this team immediately became vigilant. They all looked at Wang Mang with vigilance. All the muzzles were also aimed at Wang Mang. The one-eyed leader saw this and shouted, "Gather your firepower and kill this bastard." As soon as he finished speaking, the one-eyed leader pulled the trigger of the shotgun in his hand. With a loud bang, the muzzle spat out sparks. A series of gunshots were heard. Bang, 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 clang, 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 bang, bang, bang. After the intensive gunshots, as for Wang Mang, his entire body was covered in sparks from the beating. After the bullets hit his body, Wang Mang felt a sharp pain. Not only that, Wang Mang also realized that the power of the shotgun was really strong. Not only was the power of the bullet strong, but the impact was also very strong. Therefore, even if the bullets did not penetrate Wang Mang's huge body, however, his body was still drenched in blood and badly mutilated. Roar. After letting out an angry roar, Wang Mang quickly rushed towards the dozen people. The distance between the 2 sides was only 20 meters. To Wang Mang, this distance could be said to be extremely close. In the next moment, Wang Mang opened his bloody mouth and pounced towards one of them. Because these people's speed of dodging was too fast. From the moment he was about to launch an attack, these people retreated while firing. As a result, Wang Mang only managed to kill 1 more person with his ferocious attack. At this point, the team of 13 people were left 11 people. The 2 people who died were bitten in half by Wang Mang. At this time, the team members who were distanced from each other had a heavy expression. They originally thought that Wang Mang would definitely not be able to survive the first round and would be shot into a sieve by them. However, the result was that Wang Mang was indeed beaten to the point where blood splattered everywhere, his flesh badly mangled. But not only did this not seriously injure Wang Mang, it angered this super giant python. Boss, this guy's defense is too strong. It seems that only shotguns and AK-47s can hurt him. Yeah, the bullets hitting his body feel like they are hitting a thick iron pillar. Yeah, only the most powerful shotgun can break through his defense. At this moment, the team of 11 people looked at each other and discussed with a gloomy expression. Hearing this, the one-eyed man who was the leader also had an extremely ugly expression. Of course, he saw that shotguns were not very effective against this guy. AK-47s could only hurt him by wildly shooting at the same spot. The most effective way to hurt this supergiant python was to use shotguns. This was because the shotgun could hit Wang Mang's body and create bowl-sized, bloody wounds. At this moment, after witnessing Wang Mang's strength, the one-eyed man's expression also became gloomy. When he saw Wang Mang rushing madly again, his expression changed, and he said, "Dodge." However, the one-eyed man dodged immediately. The rest of his teammates also wanted to dodge quickly, but Wang Mang's speed was too fast. Therefore, another person was whipped into a bloody mess by Wang Mang's tail. "Damn it! Blow him up with bombs." At this moment, the one-eyed man's face was distorted as he roared angrily. Obviously, he could not accept that 3 of his teammates had died in such a short time. After all, how long had it been? In just a few minutes, 3 of them had died so quickly. If this continued, they would not be able to hold on for more than half an hour. Therefore, the one-eyed man let his teammates use the most powerful grenades. Hearing the one-eyed man's words, the rest of the team members hurriedly dodged while throwing several bombs at Wang Mang. Seeing 6 or 7 bombs flying towards him, Wang Mang was also shocked. He subconsciously whipped his tail out. 2 of the bombs were directly whipped back by Wang Mang. As for the remaining 4 bombs, they fell around Wang Mang. Wang Mang subconsciously moved his body in an attempt to dodge the grenade. However, the explosion speed of the grenade was too fast. Accompanied by several explosions, Wang Mang was completely drowned by the sparks of the 4 bombs. However, this brutal team did not have it easy either, because Wang Mang had whipped back 2 bombs with his tail. In the situation where they could not dodge in time, 6 of them suffered the explosion of the bombs on the spot. Bang! Accompanied by the sound of the explosion. Several trees nearby had been blown apart by the explosion. Dust flew everywhere as the smoke gradually subsided. The one-eyed man and the rest of the team members stared at the place where Wang Mang exploded. If the bombs could not kill Wang Mang, then they would choose to run away without hesitation. That was because bombs were their strongest trump card. 1 minute later, as the smoke subsided, the one-eyed man and the remaining 5 team members looked nervously at the place where Wang Mang was. But when they saw the bloody and miserable black python, they could not help but swallow their saliva. That was because none of the 4 bombs they threw over could kill this super black python. Of course, injuries were inevitable. Moreover, it was a very serious injury. They saw that on the ground where the previous explosion occurred, there was a pit that was several meters wide. In the pit, Wang Mang struggled to stand up again, the huge snake head that was already covered in blood. His pair of blood-red snake eyes sent chills down one's spine. Large pieces of flesh on his huge black body were blown away, and many parts of his body were blasted into a bloody mess. However, this was not the most important thing. The most important thing was that he really withstood the grenade. His previous conjecture had now been confirmed. Even if it was a grenade, it would not be able to kill him instantly. In addition, if someone observed carefully, they would notice. At this moment, Wang Mang's horrifying wounds were healing at a terrifying speed visible to the naked eye. Many of the wounds on his body that were missing flesh and blood were flowing like molten iron, gradually healing. In less than 2 minutes, Wang Mang's horrifying wounds were all healed, because Wang Mang used the 3rd skill, Bloodthirsty Rage. The terrifying thing about Bloodthirsty Rage was that the more serious the injury, the more terrifying the combat power. Combat power, of course, included defense power, self-healing ability, and combat state. Therefore, Wang Mang, who had just recovered from his injuries, was in an unprecedentedly good state, and his combat power was unprecedentedly strong. Chapter 73. This was an incomparably magical scene. It simply stunned the one-eyed man and the remaining team members. What kind of monster was this? Could this giant python have mutated? 2 minutes ago, it was still covered in scars, and now its injuries were all healed? After regaining their senses, the one-eyed man's scalp was numb, and his face suddenly changed, and he shouted, "Run!" As soon as his voice fell, the one-eyed man was the first to run. The rest of the team members also ran in all directions. How majestic they were when they came, and how embarrassed they were when they fled. When they came, there were clearly 13 people, but when they fled, there were only 6 people left. Moreover, these 6 people could be said to be running faster than the other. There was no other reason, although they were ruthless characters who licked blood from the blade. The problem was, it was useless for them to be ruthless against this super giant python. They had already used all the means they could use. But the result was, they couldn't even kill Wang Meng with grenades. So if they didn't run at this time, were they waiting for death? Of course, what they didn't know was, they couldn't run even if they wanted to now. Seeing the 6 people fleeing, Wang Meng's figure whistled out, like a black shadow sweeping past. This speed had already surpassed Wang Meng's own speed of 92 kilometers per hour. This was obviously the terrifying effect of the bloodthirsty rage skill in battle. In just a few breaths, a scream sounded. Then, several more screams came one after another. Another 5 minutes later, 5 of the 6 people who escaped had been killed by Wang Meng. After killing these 5 people, Wang Meng turned around to chase the one-eyed man. Although the one-eyed man had been running for 5 minutes, and he was running quite fast. However, he was still caught by Wang Meng after he caught his breath. The one-eyed man who stopped clenched the shotgun in his hand, and his forehead was dripping with sweat. He stared closely at Wang Meng and said in a deep voice, "I know you can understand. You can't kill me. Why can't I kill you?" Wang Meng looked at him indifferently, and his tone was extremely cold. The one-eyed man swallowed his saliva in horror. He didn't expect this super giant python to be able to talk. However, he didn't have time to think about the current situation. He stared at Wang Meng and probed. "Don't you want to know who hired us to kill you?" "I know. Therefore, you could die peacefully." Wang Meng grinned maliciously as he moved his huge body closer to One-Eyed Dragon. Seeing this, the one-eyed man's face revealed a crazed look. "Since you won't let me live, then let's die together." After that, One-Eyed Dragon pulled out 2 grenades and ran towards Wang Meng like a madman. Seeing this, Wang Meng sneered in his heart. Then it swung its tail and sent the one-eyed man flying. Bang! Rumble! Along with the sound of an explosion, the one-eyed man didn't even leave behind a corpse. He was directly blasted into minced meat. However, even after killing everyone, Wang Meng's killing intent still surged to the heavens. "Damn little bitch, I'll definitely take your dog life." After that, Wang Meng moved his huge snake body and left the forest. He first went to his grandmother's house, then contacted his father through her. He asked his father to help investigate Elizabeth Liu's family information, specific address, and so on. When his father found out what happened and that his son was almost killed, he flew into a rage and immediately agreed. If Wang Meng didn't want to do it himself, Wang Fu was prepared to do it himself and kill the culprit. Therefore, Wang Fu directly asked Wang Meng to go back and wait. He promised that there would be news the next day. After receiving his father's guarantee, Wang Meng temporarily suppressed the anger in his heart and returned to the nest to wait for news. However, just as Wang Meng returned to the nest, the system's voice sounded. Detected Elizabeth Liu's deep malice towards the host. The host is specially given the following missions to choose from. Mission 1. Don't take revenge. Swallow the humiliation. Develop wretchedly. Mission time. Choose to receive. Mission reward. 2 million evolution points. Mission 2. Plan before taking action. A gentleman's revenge is a dish best served cold. Mission time. Complete your revenge within 10 years. Mission reward. 3 million evolution points. Mission 3. Once an ignorant man gets angry, blood flows for 5 steps. I can't take this injustice. Mission time. Complete your revenge within 3 days. Mission reward. 4 million evolution points. After hearing the 3 choices given by the system, Wang Meng was simply stunned. The system never gave him a choice before. He had always relied on himself and his family to develop wretchedly. Now, he actually had a choice? Moreover, the choice of reward was too cruel. If he chose to complete the mission, he would be given evolution points. Moreover, the starting point was 1 million evolution points. Thinking about this, Wang Mang immediately cried tears of joy. He suddenly felt that the system was quite humane. Thus, after a short moment, Wang Mang made his choice. The three choices were very good. The first choice was, do not take revenge, swallow the humiliation, and develop wretchedly. The system directly gave him 2 million evolution points. This could be eliminated. If he really chose the first mission, then he would not be Wang Mang. Other people had already tried to kill him time and time again. How could Wang Mang endure it? He could not endure it with his temper. The second choice was complete the mission within 10 years. Reward: 3 million evolution points. This choice could also be eliminated. Wang Mang's temper could not wait for 10 years. If he waited for 10 years, the cucumber would be cold. Moreover, Wang Mang did not consider himself a gentleman. Anyways, whoever dared to provoke him, he would kill them, other than those he could not afford to provoke. The third choice was, complete your revenge within 3 days. Reward: for million evolution points. After comparing the three missions, the choice was clear. Wang Mang's final choice was the third mission with the most rewards. Thus, Wang Mang said in his heart, "System, I choose the third mission." This choice was most in line with Wang Mang's requirements. This was because he already could not wait to kill that slut Elizabeth Liu. Moreover, the system did not give him a choice of mission. Wang Mang was determined to kill that little slut. Now, the system had given him a generous reward for the revenge mission. Wang Mang had one more reason to kill that slut. At the same time, after Wang Mang made his choice, the system's voice echoed, "Ding! Host choice of mission is successful. Host, please complete the revenge mission within the time limit and obtain the corresponding reward." Chapter 74. After choosing the quest, Wang Mang's mood became a lot better. 4 million evolution points as a mission reward. Now that he had completed the revenge quest, the reward was enough for him to evolve again. It was because of this that Wang Mang's mood became much better. "Little bitch, just wait for me to kill you." After muttering to himself, Wang Mang curled up into a ball and fell asleep in the darkness of the nest. This was because the sky outside was gradually becoming brighter. On the second night, Wang Mang once again left the nest. He immediately went to the farm and ate the 200 pigs. Another 90,000 evolution points entered his account. After eating the pigs, Wang Mang nodded his head in satisfaction. He wanted to see how many evolution points he had accumulated. Thus, Wang Mang said in his heart, "System, open my personal information." As soon as he said this, his personal information appeared in front of his eyes. Host: Wang Mang type. Variant Titan Python status. Peak status. Healthy body. 30 meters long, 0. 8 meters wide, for 1,000 kilograms weight fighting strength. 7,000 kilograms bite force. 92 kilometers per hour skills. Death coil. Exceptional poison fong. Skin camouflage. Steel body. Super heal. Water breathing. Bloodthirsty Fury Special. Storage space. Information detection evolution points. 210,000/4,000,000 shop. Not open. After looking at his personal information, Wang Mang could not help but bitterly smile. Luckily, the system had begun to give out quests. If the system did not give out quests, and he relied on devouring to grow, his evolution speed would be a lot slower. However, Wang Mang was not worried. After killing the bitch, he could evolve again. Thinking about this, Wang Mang took advantage of the night and rushed to his grandmother's house. However, what surprised Wang Mang was that there was someone waiting for him at his grandmother's house. This person was none other than someone else. It was Wang Mang's father's trusted aide, Elder Yang, the person in charge of Huanshan Reservoir. When Elder Yang saw Wang Mang, he was also shocked. Although he had heard some rumors, Wang Mang's father had also told him about it during the day. However, when he saw Wang Mang with his own eyes, he was still shocked. Wang Mang's body was too big. Just by looking at each other, it was enough to make people shudder. However, Elder Yang was someone who had been through a lot. He quickly calmed down and asked tentatively, "Young master?" Hearing this, Wang Mang nodded his head and said, "Uncle Yang, have you made the arrangements for my dad?" After hearing Wang Mang's familiar tone, Elder Yang thought to himself, "As expected, it's my young master." Faced with Wang Mang's inquiry, Elder Yang nodded and said, "Master has already prepared a truck for you. The car is parked halfway up the mountain. We will send young master to the neighboring province overnight. The person in charge of driving you there is your Uncle Lu." Hearing this, Wang Mang was overjoyed. "Okay, thank you, Uncle Yang. I'll go there now." Hearing this, Elder Yang smiled and nodded. "Young master, I'll send you there personally." Hearing this, Wang Mang nodded. After chatting with his grandmother for a while, he left his grandmother's house with Elder Yang. Due to Elder Yang's poor physique and a lame leg, he was not fast. By the time Wang Mang arrived at the village halfway up the mountain, it was already half an hour later. At that moment, halfway up the vast and flat mountain, there was a large container truck parked there. This truck was clearly the transportation vehicle that Wang Mang's father had prepared for him. After all, the truck was too small to fit Wang Mang's body. Only a large container truck like this could barely fit Wang Mang. Also, the driver was Uncle Lu. Uncle Lu's full name was Lu Daniel. In his early years, he was the same as Uncle Yang. They were both his father's confidants. Therefore, Wang Mang was also very familiar with Uncle Lu. On the other hand, Uncle Lu, like Uncle Yang, was still shocked by Wang Mang's body size. Fortunately, they had received the news in advance and knew that this giant python was their young master. Therefore, after a simple greeting, Wang Mang said to Elder Yang, "Uncle Yang, you should go back quickly." After that, Wang Mang urged Uncle Lu again. "Uncle Lu, we can drive now." After hearing Wang Mang's words, Uncle Lu smiled and nodded. "Okay, old Yang, you should go back. I'll drive the young master there." Hearing this, Wang Mang nodded and got into the large container truck. Fortunately, although Wang Mang's body was very long, it was not too thick. The truck's container was just enough to fit Wang Mang's huge body. After entering the truck, Uncle Lu drove and set off. Wang Mang could feel that the journey was a little bumpy. However, this little bump did not affect Wang Mang in the slightest. Therefore, Wang Mang directly curled his body into a ball and began to sleep. Because the journey to Elizabeth Lu's location was not short. The distance between Heilong Province and the province where Wang Mang was located was at least 1,000 kilometers. Therefore, in order to kill Elizabeth Lu, Wang Mang could be said to have traveled 1,000 miles. Fortunately, there was a container truck arranged by his father to transport him. Otherwise, Wang Mang really had no way to find this little bitch for revenge. After all, if Wang Mang traveled 1,000 miles and went to Heilong Province, once he entered the downtown area, he would definitely be discovered. Moreover, Wang Mang was also a directionally challenged person. Therefore, it was more comfortable for his father to send someone to pick him up. 20 hours later, Heilong Province, XX City, around 5 o'clock in the afternoon. A huge container truck was parked on the side of a mountain road. This wide and flat half-mountain road was a wealthy area. There were many villas here, and many rich people gathered. This also gave Wang Mang, who was in the container, a headache. Because, according to the information given by his father, Elizabeth Lu's family information showed that she lived in a villa nearby. But this was a wealthy area. Needless to say, there were a lot of surveillance cameras, because these rich people cherished their lives very much. Fortunately, what made Wang Mang slightly relieved was there was a distance between these villas. Otherwise, Wang Mang would not be able to make his move even if he waited until nighttime. At the same time, at this moment, in the villa halfway up the mountain, in a luxurious room, Elizabeth Lu was in a good mood these 2 days, especially when she thought of the python that had been targeting her. Now it was probably going to die. Her mood was even better, because not only did that python target her, it also made the other teams in the Beast God space target her. Moreover, it caused her to fail many missions and caused her to suffer heavy losses. Her relationship with Wang Mang was like fire and water, not to mention how much she hated Wang Mang in her heart. At this moment, she was wearing a pink cartoon spaghetti strap pajamas. Her petite body was lying at the head of the bed, humming a little tune and playing Douyin on her mobile phone. She played for several hours. At 11 o'clock in the evening, she took out a small pink oval appliance from under the pillow at the head of the bed, preparing to do something to make her body happy and relax under the blanket before going to bed. But at this moment, there was a faint movement outside the room, which made Elizabeth Liu a little puzzled. Could it be that Dad was back? Thinking of this, she quickly put the small pink appliance under the pillow. Then, Elizabeth Liu went forward with a heart full of doubts and opened the door. But when she opened the door, the scene in front of her made her tremble in fear. She saw a huge black snake head appear in her line of sight. That pair of snake eyes, which were as big as light bulbs and filled with cold scarlet, were staring at her coldly. At the same time, when he saw this woman, Wang Mang judged her aura and immediately confirmed her identity. In front of him, this incomparably beautiful little beauty was the little slut Elizabeth Liu. Seeing this little slut, who had long been stunned and stood rooted to the ground, Wang Mang could not help but open his bloody mouth and let out a sinister laugh. Little slut, are you surprised? Are you surprised? Chapter 75. After hearing Wang Mang's familiar voice, Elizabeth Liu came back to her senses. Her pretty face turned pale, and her body went limp as she sat on the ground. She looked at Wang Mang with a pale face, and her voice trembled with disbelief. How is this possible? Why aren't you dead yet? Obviously, Elizabeth Liu would never have dreamed that she had hired a servant to kill Wang Mang the day before yesterday. She had thought that Wang Mang was dead, but what she never expected was that not only was Wang Mang not dead, instead, he had found her. He had even come straight to her door. She really wanted to know how Wang Mang had done it. After all, other than revealing her name to Wang Mang, she hadn't revealed any other information. But Elizabeth Liu was still too young. She didn't know that as long as one had money, it was simply too easy to get some information. Looking at the despairing Elizabeth Liu, Wang Mang grinned sinisterly and said, "Little b***, even if you die, you should die in peace. In order to kill you, I ran more than 1,000 kilometers. I'll send you on your way now." Hearing Wang Mang's words, Elizabeth Liu was completely panic-stricken. She looked at Wang Mang in horror and begged in a tearful voice, "Please don't kill me. I won't dare to do it again. I'll give you money. I'll really give you money. My father is very rich. As long as you don't kill me, I'll give you 50 million. No, I'll give you 100 million. Hearing this, Wang Mang sneered in his heart and looked at this little b*** indifferently. You don't say. This little b*** tch's tearful voice and pitiful appearance really made one's heart ache. Unfortunately, Wang Mang already knew her nature and naturally wouldn't let her go so easily. Moreover, if he took this little b*** tch's money, things would become more troublesome. If they found out that it was his father, wouldn't he be in trouble? Therefore, Wang Mang wanted this little b*** tch's life. This was because the little bitch's life was worth 4 million evolution points. Thinking up to this point, Wang Mang didn't want to delay any longer. He slowly opened his mouth and prepared to send her on her way. "No, don't kill me. Don't kill me. I beg you." Seeing Wang Mang open his bloody mouth, the terrified Elizabeth Liu kept shrinking back in fear, because she wasn't in a mission mode right now, while carrying out a mission in the beast god space. Even if she died, it would just be a failure of the mission. But if he died in real life, he would truly die. Unfortunately, no matter how she begged, Wang Mang remained unmoved. He opened his mouth wide and bit down on the little bitch's waist, tearing her into 2 pieces. For a moment, blood splattered everywhere. The scene was extremely comfortable. At the same time, after Wang Mang killed Elizabeth Liu, the system's voice sounded out, "Ding. Congratulations, host. Successfully completed the revenge mission. Ding! Congratulations, host. Successfully obtained 4 million evolution points. Ding! Congratulations, host. Host has met the requirements for evolution. Do you wish to begin evolution? After hearing the system's voice, Wang Mang silently said in his heart, "No." After saying this, Wang Mang used his storage space and threw Elizabeth Liu's corpse into a special space. This was because Wang Mang was a bit regretful that he wasn't able to exterminate this little b asterisk TCH's family. Therefore, to prevent this little b asterisk TCH's death from being exposed a bit later, he took the corpse with him. After taking away the little b asterisk TCH's corpse, Wang Mang quickly moved his body and left the villa. At the same time, Uncle Liu, who had also entered the villa, saw Wang Mang's figure leaving. He also quickly disappeared from the villa. Moreover, in order to clean up Wang Mang's mess, he had already destroyed all the surveillance equipment in the villa. A few minutes later, Wang Mang took advantage of the night and quickly returned to the container truck. After Uncle Liu arrived, he quickly drove the container truck and disappeared into the night. The afternoon of the second day, the container truck had already returned to the village and stopped halfway up the mountain. At night, Wang Mang would be able to return to his lair on the mountain. At this moment, Wang Mang, who was hiding in the container truck, was in a good mood. This was definitely the easiest time for Wang Mang to earn evolution points. It would be great if there was a reward mission every time. Thinking about this, Wang Mang couldn't help but ask in his heart, "System, how long will it take for a reward mission to be released?" The system's familiar voice sounded, "Host, there are no rules for releasing a mission. Everything is random and depend on the host." After hearing the system's explanation, Wang Mang was speechless. He also gave up on the idea of crazily doing missions. It seems that in the future, he would have to rely on himself to grow. As for the missions released by the system, he could only treat it as earning extra money when he was lucky. When night fell, the container truck was opened. Uncle Liu waved at Wang Mang and said, "Young master, you can go back first. Old master will take care of the rest of the finishing work." Hearing this, Wang Mang nodded and said, "Thank you for your hard work, Uncle Liu." Uncle Liu smiled and waved his hand. "Hurry up and go. This truck also needs to be taken care of." Wang Mang immediately nodded. After exchanging a few words with Uncle Liu, he quickly moved his huge body and disappeared into the night. After returning to the Huanshan Reservoir, Wang Mang was in a good mood as he wantonly shuttled through the forest. As usual, the first thing he did was to rush to his small farm. This was because he didn't have time to eat the white pigs today. When he arrived at the small farm, he ate another 200 white pigs. Another 90,000 evolution points easily entered his account. Taking advantage of the night, after Wang Mang finished eating, he rushed back to his nest. A few minutes later, Wang Mang returned to his nest and impatiently said, "System, begin the evolution." In the next moment, the system's familiar voice echoed, "Ding! 4 million evolution points have been deducted. Beginning evolution." Afterwards, Wang Mang completely lost consciousness. 2 hours later, the evolution was complete. Wang Mang slowly woke up. What entered his eyes was still the huge snake skin. However, Wang Mang quickly noticed the abnormality in his body. This time, his body had changed a lot. His body was a lot thicker than before. He had truly become a leviathan. Not only that, his body had become longer. Moreover, it was big and thick. Of course, how big was the change in his body this time? He wasn't too sure. Thus, Wang Mang said in his heart, "System, check my personal information." In the next moment, his personal information appeared in front of his eyes. Host, Wang Mang type, mutated Titan Python status, peak status, mutating body, 33 meters long, 4 meters wide, 6,000 kilograms weight fighting strength, 8,000 kilograms bite force, 92 kilometers per hour skills, death coil, exceptional poison fong, skin camouflage, steel body, super healing, water breathing, bloodthirsty, fury special, storage space. Information detection evolution points 210.000/8000000 shop. Not opened. Chapter 76. After reading his personal information, Wang Mang was surprised to find that he had changed a lot this time. First of all, the biggest change was his body width. His body width was originally 0.8 meters, but now it had increased to 1.4 meters. No wonder he felt that he had become much thicker. In fact, he had indeed become much thicker. How wide was a body diameter of 1.4 meters? It was equivalent to the height of a teenager. In other words, Wang Mang was lying on the ground. His body height, or the thickness of his body, was 1.4 meters in diameter. This kind of body diameter was too big. Moreover, pythons could swallow things that were several times larger than their body size. Moreover, Wang Mang's head was really big. His head was at least 2 meters wide. He could open his bloody mouth to the extent of 3 to 4 meters. Now, he only needed to open his bloody mouth, and he could easily swallow a car, or even an off-road vehicle. In other words, Wang Mang could indeed do it, like the giant pythons in the movies, to the extent of swallowing a high-speed train in one bite. Not only that, Wang Mang's weight had increased by 2 tons. Now, Wang Mang's weight had increased from 4 tons to 6 tons. It was almost a direct increase of 2 tons. This was also the reason why. This was the reason why Wang Mang said that he had really become a huge monster. Moreover, his body length had also increased from 2 meters to 3 meters each time. In addition, Wang Mang's bite force had reached 8 tons. This should be the smallest increase that Wang Mang had found so far. However, his speed did not increase, and there was still not much change. In addition, his status had also changed. Status, from healthy to mutating. It seemed that after his body length had exceeded 30 meters, if it continued to grow, he had already entered a state of change. Thinking of this, Wang Mang could not help but feel happy. But at this moment, the system's familiar voice sounded. Ding! Congratulations to the host. Obtained rare beginner supernatural power. King's Slave. King's Slave. After use, the host can enslave a target weaker than the host and make it your most loyal slave. The enslaved target will not betray you even if he dies. After hearing the system's voice, Wang Mang was completely stunned. He originally thought that he might not be able to obtain any new skills from this evolution. But now, he was actually given a divine ability. Although this divine ability wasn't too strong, it was still quite powerful. But it was still a divine ability. Moreover, this divine ability was also very heaven-defying. The heaven-defying thing was, he could use the king's enslavement god art to enslave a subordinate. Furthermore, his enslaved subordinates would never betray him. This was the truly heaven-defying aspect of divine abilities. Compared to the life and death talisman of Tian Shan Tong in the demigods and semi-devils novels, it was much more powerful. The only downside was that it could only enslave one target. However, it didn't matter. Wang Mang had already thought of how to use this skill. This skill was too awesome. He could enslave any target weaker than him. If his father were to invite a rich tycoon, then he could directly use the king's slave. Let that rich tycoon use a large amount of money to help him develop. Oh my God, it was unimaginable. Wang Mang was almost stunned by his own intelligence. He was really a F*** genius. As for enslaving subordinates, enslaving Dark Light in the reservoir, what was the use of enslaving him? What Wang Mang needed was to become stronger. Moreover, there were simply too many places where this divine ability, King's Slave, could be used. He didn't need to be like the protagonists in those novels, using all kinds of methods to control their subordinates. That would be too stupid. What he needed was to control those rich people to help him develop. At that time, if that enslaved tycoon had no value, at most he would let that tycoon commit suicide and find a new target. Thinking of this, Wang Mang simply had the urge to look up to the sky and laugh out loud. Aha! Good, good, good. With this divine ability, I don't have to worry about development anymore. Thinking of this, Wang Mang couldn't help but laugh. Because with this divine ability, would he still need to worry about development? No need. With a flip of his hand, he could enslave a group of tycoons to provide him with resources. Wang Mang could be said to be in high spirits. His mood was indescribably wonderful. Well, the matter of inviting tycoons still needed his father to personally come. After all, Wang Mang didn't know any tycoons. Even if he knew them, how could he invite them? Therefore, Wang Mang still needed the help of his family. For example, his father knew a lot of tycoons. Because Wang Mang's father was also a tycoon with a net worth of more than 2 billion. Thinking of this, Wang Mang had already decided to tell his father about this matter. At that time, he would ask his father to help him invite the tycoons over. As for the big fish in the reservoir, there was no need to raise them. Raise their eggs. He would have the help of the tycoons' money in the future. Would he be afraid of not having enough resources to develop? This kind of worry didn't exist at all. Thinking of this, Wang Mang couldn't wait to start testing this divine ability. When night came, he could try using this divine ability and see the effect. Very soon, the sun during the day. Under Wang Mang's expectations, the sun finally set. When night came, Wang Mang still went to eat the 200 pigs in the small farm. More than 90,000 evolution points easily entered his account again. Then, Wang Mang couldn't wait to go to the reservoir. This time, the target he wanted to use to test wasn't someone else. It was the white giant python from the southern waters over there. Didn't this fellow dare to bully him before because he didn't have divine abilities? Now, he also had divine abilities. Moreover, his divine ability was even more awesome. As for whether it would succeed or not, Wang Mang wasn't sure in his heart, because he hadn't really defeated this white giant python. Moreover, this white giant python had divine abilities earlier than him. Obviously, its origin wasn't simple. However, how would he know if he didn't try? Therefore, Wang Mang set off confidently. He moved his huge body and came to the shore of the reservoir. As soon as he reached the shore of the reservoir, his arrival scared away many wild animals. Then, under the fearful gazes of a group of small and medium-sized animals, Wang Mang wantonly swam in the Huanshan Reservoir and entered the center of the reservoir. At the same time, Wang Mang also directly went to the southern waters. He was going to find trouble with that white giant python. Soon, Wang Mang successfully arrived at the southern waters. Along the way, the psychic big fish in the nearby waters fled in fear when they saw Wang Mang. However, Wang Mang didn't have time to deal with these psychic big fish. The target he was looking for was the overlord of the southern waters, the super white giant python. As for the two terrifying giant catfish in the western waters, Wang Mang couldn't afford to provoke them for the time being, nor did he plan to provoke them. What surprised Wang Mang was that not long after he entered the southern waters, in his sight, the super white giant python swam towards him from the distant waters. After seeing Wang Mang, the white giant python sent out a spiritual wave and asked coldly, "What are you doing here again? You've killed a lot of psychic big fish these days. If you continue to kill, the big fish will be driven to the western waters by you." Hearing this, Wang Mang couldn't help but sneer inwardly. He replied coldly, "My target this time is you." After hearing Wang Mang's words, the white super python was so angry that it laughed. "Do you think you can beat me?" Chapter 77. To be honest, Wang Mang, in a short period of time, from a giant python that was once more than 20 meters long, it grew to a super giant python that was now more than 30 meters long. This was beyond her expectations. She really couldn't understand what Wang Mang was eating. Wasn't it rising too fast? Even if he was taking hormones, it shouldn't be. Even taking hormones wouldn't be so exaggerated. For a moment, she was simply full of curiosity about Wang Mang. She wanted to know, what was Wang Mang's method of quickly becoming stronger. After all, she had spent hundreds of years to grow to her current level. But Wang Meng, he simply became stronger every few days. Moreover, the interval was too short, so short that this little bit of time, for demons like them who were psychic and had become spirits, it was simply negligible. But what made her feel ridiculous was, Wang Meng actually wanted to attack her. He actually wanted to eat her. He simply didn't take her seriously. Even the two giant catfish, old monsters in the western waters, couldn't do anything to her. Where did this guy in front of her get his confidence from? Could it be that he became arrogant so quickly after becoming stronger? Thinking of this, she sneered in her heart. You're overestimating yourself. Then, she used her supernatural power on Wang Meng. At the same time, Wang Meng felt that his body was once again burdened with Mount Tai. For a moment, Wang Meng's body movements also became extremely stiff. Fortunately, Wang Meng had already experienced this guy's supernatural power. Therefore, compared to the first time he encountered this supernatural power, Wang Meng was incomparably calm. At the same time, Wang Meng also silently chanted in his heart, King's slave. Obviously, Wang Meng also used his supernatural power. In the next moment, Wang Meng saw the white supergiant python that was hit by his supernatural power. Suddenly, her huge body stiffened and then began to struggle violently. He saw that this white giant python was madly rolling in the water in pain. Seeing this scene, Wang Meng also became extremely nervous. He couldn't help but secretly pray in his heart, You must succeed. Half an hour later, this white supergiant python gradually stopped struggling and recovered. Her pair of cold and deep snake eyes were filled with monstrous killing intent as she stared at him. Seeing this scene, Wang Meng immediately knew that things were bad. Could it be that it failed? Then, Wang Meng heard the system's voice in his mind, frowny-faced ding. Supernatural powers enslavement failed. The host's enslaved target strength has exceeded the host's current strength. Wang Meng felt helpless when he heard the system's notification. He even almost couldn't help cursing. How is this whites? Fortunately, after the system's explanation, Wang Meng came to a sudden realization. As it turned out, this white python also had a spiritual type divine ability. Moreover, the white Wangs of the spiritual god, however, the opponent's divine ability was a defensive type, not an offensive one. In comparison, Wang Meng's king's slavery was a very domineering, offensive ability. At the same time, at this moment, Lord Whitewater was furious. Her heart was filled with shock and anger. She didn't expect the fellow in front of her, whom she had never taken seriously, to be so powerful. Now, he actually had a spiritual type divine ability. Moreover, it was a very domineering spiritual attack. If she didn't have a mental attack god art, she would have died in Wang Meng's hands. Thinking of this, she looked at Wang Meng with a gaze filled with disgust and killing intent. If it wasn't for the fact that he really couldn't do anything to Wang Meng, he would have been killed. She would definitely fight Wang Meng to the death, because she was a member of the White Spirit Python clan. White Spirit Python clan. But now, it was one of the few remaining powerful demon forces on Earth. If it was said that there were a few desolate sects among the cultivators, in that case, the power of the demon race would be much stronger. Of course, although the White Spirit Python clan was powerful, they were not that powerful. She was one of the 5 great elders of the White Spirit Python clan. One could imagine that whether it was the demon race or the cultivators, how weak were they on this earth? It seems that I have to leave as soon as possible. Otherwise, I might die in the hands of this fellow that day. At this moment, Lord Whitewater secretly said to herself. Obviously, the divine ability that Wang Meng displayed had frightened her quite a bit. At the same time, Wang Meng naturally saw the white python's eyes filled with killing intent. But the white python didn't make a move. Wang Meng guessed the reason for a little while. This fellow definitely didn't have the ability to do anything to him. Thinking of this, Wang Meng's mood became much better. Wait, the next time I come to your door, it will be the day you die. If you don't want to die, get out of my reservoir as soon as possible. This will be my territory sooner or later. After putting down the ruthless words, only then did Wang Mang arrogantly twist his body and leave. Looking at Wang Mang's arrogant figure leaving, the giant white python was both furious and helpless. At the same time, Wang Mang returned to the shore. He also understood how powerful his divine ability was. Now it was used to deal with ordinary people. It was simply a piece of cake. Thinking of this, Wang Mang went to his grandmother's house that night. He told his father about the divine ability. His father on the phone couldn't help but laugh excitedly after hearing about his son's ability. Good. My son really lives up to expectations. He actually has such a heaven-defying divine ability. Becoming a great demon is just around the corner. Aha! If my son has such a divine ability, I won't be able to do any business. When the time comes, my son will directly control a very rich man and let him transfer his property to me. Hearing this on the phone, his father laughed excitedly. After listening to his father's words, Wang Mang was also very speechless. He really didn't expect. His father had thought of the magical use of the divine ability before him. Because he hadn't told him his plan yet, his father had already thought of it. Thinking of this, Wang Mang then discussed the plan in his heart with his father. On the phone, after listening to this, Wang Fu patted his thigh and said excitedly, Good. Son, wait for my good news. I know a lot of rich people. Aha! My son has such a divine ability. I don't have to continue working hard at all. Directly plundering other people's wealth and property is the fastest way to accumulate wealth. After hearing his father's words, Wang Mang couldn't help but feel a little helpless. He found that he and his father were really too similar in many ways. However, thinking that he was about to control many rich people and plunder their wealth in exchange for resources, Wang Mang was in a very good mood. After chatting with his father for a while, only then did Wang Mang end the call. While the sky was still dark, Wang Mang also rushed back to the nest before dawn. After returning to the nest, Wang Mang still couldn't calm down, because he seemed to have seen the scene of a huge amount of evolution points crazily rushing towards him. Therefore, Wang Mang was also very much looking forward to it. With the help of a lot of wealth and resources, to what extent could he evolve? 40 meters? Or 50 meters? Or 100 meters? You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.